Lu Shang walks right into Healing Su's company headquarters. The receptionist sees him and starts greeting him, but our boy cuts her off. He asks if Healing Su is here. The receptionist's eyes go wide because the guy is really handsome. She stammers a bit and tells him that Healing Su is in her office and she can take him there. But Lu Sheng tells her there is no need because he already knows the way. After he leaves, the receptionist just stands there in a daze. Her coworker snaps her out of it and asks who that handsome guy was. The receptionist starts gushing about him. She says compared to him, all those other young masters who come around are nothing. The guy is not only good-looking, but he is also a top martial artist. She heard he even won the Ascension Dragon competition and got crowned champion in a recent martial arts tournament. Her co-worker's eyes light up and she says she wishes she could see him again. Lu Sheng finds Healing Su in her office and asks if everything is ready. She nods and tells him it is all inside. Our boy looks her over and notices she looks tense. Healing Su tells him that her mother's side is starting again and she asks when he can help her. Lu Sheng's expression softens and he tells her he got it. He says he will come to help as soon as he is done here and tells her not to worry. Healing Su watches him walk toward the lab. She thinks that his aura seems to have gotten a lot stronger. It has not even been that long. She wonders if it is really possible for someone's martial arts skills to improve so much in such a short time. The thought is terrifying to her. Back in the private lab, Lu Sheng gets to work. Medicinal herbs float around him because he is suspending them with his psychic energy. Golden light blazes all around as he combines ingredients with surgical precision using both martial energy and psychic power. He channels blue psychic energy into a test tube, and just like that, it is done. The young man ingests the newly created elixir, and golden fire erupts through his entire body. Lu Sheng feels it again. He has successfully condensed another blood core. Right now, he is probably the only one who can create these things. The materials alone cost billions. Our boy thinks that if he were to replace all his cells with immortal cells, the cost would be astronomical. Healing Su's business only makes 12 billion a year, and that is not nearly enough. He saw some comments online saying that money comes easy as long as you have the strength to participate in battlefields. So our boy decides there is no time to waste. He just hopes those warm-hearted netizens were not lying. Lu Sheng heads to Ruhe Airport. He checks his phone and notices that Commander Yu seems very busy because the guy is not even answering his phone. The plan to have Dong Qingxie and Qin Xiaojun pick him up has changed too. The young man stands in the terminal and thinks about how the peace they enjoy today is built upon the flesh and blood of soldiers on the front lines. He feels honored to have the chance to help protect this peace. A military officer steps onto the tarmac, and the girl realizes that the fighter jet is really here to pick him up. The girl asks why there are fighter jets here, and her friend tells her they must be on a mission. But then the girl spots Lu Sheng and walks over to him. She tells him he is really handsome and asks if he wants to board together and where he is headed. Lu Sheng tells them he is not taking the same plane as them. The girl protests and says this is the only flight right now. She asks if he is not on this one, then which one could he possibly take? A military officer steps onto the tarmac, and the girl realizes that the fighter jet is really here to pick him up. The officer introduces himself as Colonel Qin Huaimu and says he is under the command of the 3rd Division of the Eastern Military Zone. Lu Sheng notes the rank. A colonel is a step above Dong Qingxiu and the rest. He asks if they are heading to the Eastern Military Zone and why Dong Qingxiu and the others did not come. Colonel Qin's expression turns serious. He explains that they are not going to the military zone. Due to a recent appearance of a new rift, the front lines are extremely dangerous. Their unit will be the reinforcements, and they will head to the front lines directly after picking Lu Sheng up. Lu Sheng asks how long the journey will take. Colonel Qin pauses and asks if he is not afraid. Lu Sheng shakes his head and tells him it is fine. He says he wanted to go to the front lines anyway. Lu Sheng asks the colonel to briefly explain the situation at the front. Qin Huaimu lays it all out. He says the Eastern Front has been in a stalemate for a long time, but it has eased a bit in the past 2 years. However, this new rift might be classified as an A rank, and that makes the situation dire. The entire Eastern Front might have to retreat. A rank has the most ferocious leather rank beasts, and there are thousands of them plus stronger species lurking in the depths. He says the strongest rifts are SS rank, and they are located globally within deep ocean or high altitude zones. There are 9 known to them. Xin Huaimu tells him to put it simply, even a level 8 Great Martial Master risks death in an A-rank rift. Lu Sheng thinks about that. So in AA or AAA or S-rank rifts, even a rank 9 Martial Saint might not survive? The young man processes all of this. He sees it now. It is like a game. The rifts are like game dungeons. The deeper you go, the harder it gets. Xin Huaimu confirms that most of the time you do not even need to enter the rift. You just set up defenses nearby and wait for prey to come running and clear out the beasts that come out. That is what their frontline does. Lu Sheng nods and says he got it. He thinks to himself that if he can completely clear an SSS rank rift, he might finally uncover the truth behind the monster invasions. Back at the academy, Lu Sheng's master lays out the path ahead. He explains that once Lu Sheng hits level 7 as a martial artist, he will be following a completely different cultivation path. Martial masters at that level typically operate in groups, and if Lu Sheng plays it right, he could even become a core commander. But our boy is not getting ahead of himself. Before he can even finish that thought, bad news hits. A soldier reports that Commander Yu's frontline position is under attack from a level 7 beast. Lu Sheng does not even flinch. He asks how far away Commander Yu is stationed, and when he hears it is only 3 minutes out, the decision is already made. He is going. But first, he needs shoes. And not just any shoes. He wants the best quality military boots they have got. Our boy knows exactly what he is about to walk into. The scene cuts to the front lines about half an hour earlier. Commander Yu is out there putting in work and slicing through monsters with his massive purple energy blade. He takes down what he thinks is the last one. His soldiers cheer him on and offer him water and thank him for holding the line. But the situation is grim. Reinforcements from the Star Squad are at least 2 days out, and Command just told them to hold on a little longer. 2 whole days against level 5 and level 6 monsters, with a defense line made up of low-level warriors who can barely hold their own. That is when Major Qian Officer steps in. She has been listening to everything. She confidently says they can hold for 2 days at this rate because this wave is basically over. She thinks the next attack probably will not come until tomorrow, but she barely gets the words out before the ground starts shaking violently. 3 massive level 7 monsters rip through the earth and surface right in the middle of their position. The morale that had just been building is completely shattered in an instant. The soldiers start panicking because 3 level 7 monsters is basically a death sentence. Even one of them would be a nightmare to take down because level 7 monsters self-destruct before dying, and that causes massive casualties every single time. And now there are 3 of them. But Commander Yu is not about to let his people fall apart. He draws his blade and rallies every warrior above level 6 and orders a full charge. Yu Peiyi calls for cover fire from the tanks. Dong Qingshu and her partner join the fight alongside him. Both of them are in their 40s but already approaching the peak of level 6. One of the fighters jokes about her partner's swollen eyes looking like a rabbit with a sty, and the guy fires back saying it is just mental exhaustion and not a real injury. Dong Qingshu tells him to save the jokes. She says when Lu Sheng shows up and finds 2 corpses instead of commanders, he will not be laughing. That shuts everyone up real quick. None of them want to die. Not yet. They all charge forward together. Then right in the middle of that desperate last stand, something streaks across the sky like a blazing comet. Everyone freezes. A person is falling from above and he is wreathed in flames, and he lands right in the middle of the 3 level 7 monsters. Major Kin Officer recognizes him instantly and her eyes go wide with fear because he landed right on top of the most dangerous creatures on the battlefield. But the young man does not even acknowledge the danger. He crashes down with devastating force and slams one of the massive centipede-like monsters into the ground so hard the earth cracks beneath it. The soldiers just stare in disbelief, and our boy? He just looks down at his feet and tests out his new boots and casually remarks that the quality of the military's footwear is actually pretty good. Lu Sheng wastes absolutely 0 time. He looks the creature dead in the eyes and tells it that it is next. The second level 7 monster is a massive red beast, and it barely registers what is happening before our boy is already standing right in front of it, with flames flickering around his fists. The beast lunges at him, but Lu Sheng meets it head-on with a devastating punch that sends the monster flying. But it gets even better. Lu Sheng delivers a lightning-charged kick straight to the beast's face, and it leaves Commander Yu and the other soldiers absolutely speechless. The commander cannot even process what he is seeing. This kid is throwing around a level 7 monster like it is nothing. Lu Sheng has become terrifyingly strong. With one monster down, the silver-haired officer Dong Qingxiu turns to Lu Sheng with a smile and tells him it is his turn to handle the next one. The third level 7 monster is a giant mantis-like insect, and it comes hissing out of its burrow. The thing tries to put up a fight, but our boy freezes it in place with raw intimidation before grabbing it barehanded and crushing it. Then he warns everyone to stay back because there is a cave underneath, and more monsters might be lurking below. He seals the burrow entrance with a massive blast of energy and collapses it entirely. With all 3 level 7 threats eliminated, the young man calmly walks up to the group of stunned soldiers and introduces himself. Lu Sheng says he is the new recruit Lu Sheng, and he is reporting specifically to the commander. The soldiers can barely hold it together. The guy who just single-handedly wiped out 3 level 7 monsters is calling himself a new recruit. They burst out laughing in pure relief. Later that evening at the Eastern War Zone military base, the officers sit down for a debrief. They acknowledge that without Lu Sheng's arrival, those 3 monsters would have broken through and the entire battle line would have collapsed. Dong Qingxue explains the situation. She says there is a zone rift nearby, and it is at least rank 6A level, and it has been spitting out increasingly dangerous creatures. Commander Yu is so impressed that he wants to personally recommend Lu Sheng for the General Staff Lieutenant position. He points out that our boy has already reached a level of combat power that matches a martial master, and that is extraordinary for someone his age. He even offers to send someone to formally escort Lu Sheng to the position. But Lu Sheng, being Lu Sheng, is completely unbothered by titles and promotions. He tells the commander he is fine and does not need much. The young man says he used both his physical strength and energy reserves in the fight, but he does not feel tired at all. Though he does admit he is a little hungry. The soldiers invite him to eat, and they are shocked all over again when Lu Sheng absolutely demolishes the food. The guy downs multiple servings like a bottomless pit. Meanwhile, something interesting is happening across the table. Dong Qingxue is sitting there quietly and staring at Lu Sheng with an unreadable expression. Someone pulls up a tablet showing information about Lu Sheng, and right there on the screen it labels him as a future spouse match. Dong Qingxue's face goes completely red. Lu Sheng abruptly stands up and says she is full and excuses herself. Dong Qingxue barely notices and just mumbles something through a mouthful of food. One of the other officers calls her out. The officer's eyes light up with realization, and he starts to ask if she actually likes him, but she is already gone. Dong Qingxue shuts that down immediately and says it is none of their business. That night, Lu Sheng cannot sleep. The adrenaline from the battle is still pumping through him, and he notices something strange. Their section of the battle line is quiet because Division 182 already finished their fighting for the day. But further out in a distant area, the gunshots and sounds of combat have not stopped at all. It seems like that section has not had a moment of peace since the fighting started. The young man activates his attribute perception ability and scans the distant battlefield with his enhanced senses. And with a look of quiet determination, he makes up his mind. He thinks to himself, how about he goes and takes a look? Monsters are pouring out in endless waves. The soldiers holding that line are exhausted and outnumbered and running out of hope. One of them curses at the sheer volume of creatures still coming, and another one grimly accepts that death was always part of the deal the moment they stepped onto the battlefield. But the red-haired female commander, who is a martial master-ranked general star, refuses to let morale collapse. She rallies them with a grin and tells them they will run it back in another life after 8 more years. That is when a rank 7 two-headed shadow leopard appears. The red-haired commander does not even hesitate. She charges straight at it and laughs and says she just happens to need some good meat to go with her alcohol. She clashes with the beast in a brutal exchange of purple energy and raw power. But even after landing a devastating blow, the monster is not done. It turns out the leopard was part of a mated pair, and the second one ambushes her from behind. Things are looking really bad for her. Then Lu Sheng arrives. He crashes onto the scene just in time and saves the red-haired commander from a fatal strike. She barely processes what happened before our boy is already handling business. One of the remaining monsters lunges at him and he silences it with a single command. He literally tells the thing to be quiet. Then he explains that a rank 7 monster's meat is actually pretty good, but only if it is minced into pieces. And the last one, he already smashed it to bits. The red-haired commander just stares at him in complete shock, but the young man is not done yet. Lu Sheng grabs one of the defeated monsters by the tail and ties it up like a sack of groceries and strikes a little victory pose. He announces mission accomplished. Then he moves on to the next target and declares it is time to clean up the scraps. He unleashes a massive fire tornado that incinerates everything in its path and leaves the soldiers on that front absolutely dumbfounded. They cannot figure out where this overpowered guy even came from. What follows is basically a one-man cleanup operation across the entire eastern war zone. Lu Sheng goes from defense line to defense line and conveniently helps out at every single position he visits. By the time he circles back to Commander Yu's base, he casually reports that he is just about finished visiting every nearby post. Commander Yu nearly spits out his drink. He demands to know how many monsters Lu Sheng killed out there, and our boy just shrugs. He says he does not remember the exact count. The young man says there were quite a few rank 7 ones, but he did not bother keeping track of the lower ranks. He could not bring the corpses back either, so he figures they should just treat it as doing their part. Commander Yu is completely floored. Lu Sheng casually explains that hauling monster corpses around would have been a hassle. But on a more serious note, the commander reminds him that he is technically not part of Division 182, and he should not be running off to other sectors. The young man promises to handle things closer to home from now on, and asks for a communication device so he can stay in contact. The scene then shifts to military headquarters, where the situation is far grimmer than anyone on the ground realizes. A report comes into the chief. Total officer casualty count has exceeded 12,000. The non-commissioned officer casualties have hit 3,007. General stars are among the dead, and a rank 8 general star named Martial Master Zhang Wei, who was 18th on the general star leaderboard, has also fallen. The chief is visibly shaken. The military headquarters only had 30 martial masters total, and now they have lost another one. He orders a funeral arranged according to the highest protocols and asks to be informed of the exact time so he can attend personally. Then he turns to the real problem, which is the newly appeared rift. His advisors deliver the worst possible news. They say the situation is not looking good. Monsters are streaming out of the rift in an unending flood, and if reinforcements do not arrive soon, the entire army stationed there will be annihilated. Swarms of monsters are darkening the sky over the battlefield. This is not just a monster wave anymore. It is shaping up to be an extinction-level event. Back at military headquarters, Supreme Commander Shi Hongfei is staring at the war map and asking the hard question. He wants to know how many soldiers they can actually dispatch right now. The answer is brutal. Almost none. Even if they issue orders immediately, the earliest reinforcements can arrive is tomorrow. Shi Hongfei makes a painful call. He says they will block the most critical breach first and reinforce Zone A. One of his officers protests and says Zone B is equally important. Shi Hongfei knows that, but he explains that Zone B sits further from civilization with vast open lands between it and the nearest city. If that line falls, they can slowly clear it and reclaim the territory later. But Zone A is a completely different story. If Zone A breaks, then monsters will pour straight into Changshan City, which is a populated urban center with civilians. He says defending the country takes top priority. The room erupts in heated debate, but ultimately the decision stands. The order goes out to Division 1058, which is the unit guarding Zone A, and it is led by Division Leader Major General Sun Zi. The message is clear. Even if they have to fight to the last man, they must hold that defensive line with their lives. Everyone else in the remaining positions can pull back if needed and shift to support Zone A. Meeting adjourned. Meanwhile, at Division 1182's battle line, the soldiers are growing restless. Day after day of fighting with no end in sight. Lu Sheng checks in and asks about conditions on the other fronts. The situation is grim everywhere. Headquarters cannot even send reinforcements to the newest rift where the defense line has already cracked. But what the soldiers at Division 1182 do not realize is just how much Lu Sheng has been carrying them. Commander Yu watches as our boy prepares to head out again and quietly reflects on the absurdity of the whole situation. The young man has been single-handedly wandering between multiple battle lines for days straight and killing everything in his path. Every time he returns, his entire body reeks of blood so badly that even after cleaning it off, the scent clings to him. The bloodlust on him is comparable to that of a veteran soldier who has spent 4 to 5 years on the battlefield, and he has not even been here a week. Commander Yu can barely believe Lu Sheng is human and not some mythical weapon. Lu Sheng heads out again, and this time the entire division lines up to send him off with a formal salute. They wish him great military success. Dong Xingxuo watches him go and remarks that he truly is a fine young man and one with the strength of a future general star. She is watching Lu Sheng leave, but she is acting noticeably cold and distant. Lu Sheng picks up on it and wonders if he did something wrong. But then he thinks better of it and mutters, "Forget it." Before heading to the battlefield, Lu Sheng stops by Instructor Qin. Qin teases him about being the great hero heading out once again. Lu Sheng asks Qin to pass along a small personal gift to Instructor Dong. He says it is something he made himself but forgot to hand over earlier. Meanwhile, Dong Qingxiu sees the gift and immediately demands one for himself too and starts chasing after Lu Sheng. The whole thing is pretty funny. Instructor Dong whacks the greedy officer and calls him crazy. The scene cuts to that very front line. A soldier runs out of bullets and he is surrounded by monsters. In a desperate last stand, he straps grenades all over his body and gets ready to take them down with him. But before he can pull the pins, he suddenly cannot move. Lu Sheng appears behind him and locks him in place with telekinetic force. He calmly tells the soldier not to give up his life so easily. Then our boy turns to the incoming horde of monsters. There are at least 3 level 6 beasts, and normally it would require 3 martial masters to handle them. But Lu Sheng silences them all with a single burst of energy. The soldiers watching are absolutely floored. One of them estimates that this kind of power puts Lu Sheng on track to become a future powerful general star. The rescued soldiers ask which division he is from. Lu Sheng identifies himself as Colonel Lu Sheng from Division 835. The soldiers recognize the unit because it is the long-term defensive unit adjacent to Division 1182. They are confused about why he is all the way out here and ask if Division 835's battle line has extended this far. They say Division 835's defensive line has long been broken. Lu Sheng's expression hardens. Lu Sheng's eyes go wide the moment he hears that Division 835's defensive line has already been broken. He immediately activates attribute perception and scans the soldier in front of him. The guy is genuinely startled because he can feel the psychic energy piercing straight into his soul. Lu Sheng demands answers. He asks if headquarters knows the line has collapsed and where the reinforcements are. The soldier tells him they kept requesting backup and kept being told to wait. Eventually, the only order that came through was to withdraw. Lu Sheng asks the obvious follow-up. He wants to know why they are not withdrawing then. The answer hits hard. Their commander refused to leave. He said if they retreat, the 2 surrounding defensive lines will be affected and monsters will pour through the gap and flood into the nearby areas. Simply put, just like in the city behind them, many people will die. The soldiers chose to stay and die with their commander rather than abandon the line. Lu Sheng takes it all in. Then with quiet resolve, he says he got it. The soldiers try to warn him and tell him that direction is a war zone with endless waves of monsters pouring out. But our boy does not care. He tells them it is fine and that he will go over and take a look to see if it can still be saved. The soldiers stare at him in disbelief. They cannot believe he thinks he can save it by himself. Lu Sheng launches toward the broken line and activates attribute perception mid-flight to map out the battlefield below. The scene is chaos. Monsters are everywhere, and there are far more than anything he has dealt with before. He pinpoints where the defensive line should be and drops in. Monsters immediately swarm him, and he confirms what he already suspected. There are way too many of them, but he also senses survivors still fighting deeper in the ruins. The more he kills, the more appear. He thinks that if there are people alive, then this place can still be saved. The scene cuts to those survivors. A grizzled old soldier with red goggles rallies what is left of the squad. Their philosophy is brutally simple. They already made peace with death the moment they stepped onto this battlefield, and every additional monster they kill before going down is profit. One soldier laughs while unloading his remaining ammunition. Another one has already set up backup explosives so everyone can go out comfortably. He says no one will leave a whole corpse for the monsters. A third soldier named Hai Zi gets swarmed, and the old man watches helplessly as his comrade falls. He gets enraged and grabs a grenade to blow the monsters away, but it is empty. He smiles sadly and tells his fallen commander that it is time for the last few buddies to come and join him. Then a massive blast of wind slams into the battlefield. The old soldier shields himself and is confused because he does not know where this hurricane is coming from. Lu Sheng arrives in a blaze of energy and tells anyone who can still move to fall back immediately. The old man can barely process it. He screams that the reinforcements have arrived. The surviving soldiers rally because who would choose to die if they have a chance to live? They begin withdrawing, but then they look back and realize something. The reinforcement is just one guy against an endless horde, and yet it feels like he alone is enough. The young man surveys the monster swarm and finally understands why Division 835's line broke. The creatures are seemingly infinite, and wave after wave they create relentless pressure. But our boy is not fazed. He thinks that if that is the case, then he will just have to match their numbers with raw power. Our boy summons a towering ice spirit behind him, which is an ethereal feminine figure radiating frozen energy. He calls out the name of his technique, which is Sparrow's Prison of the Frost Halberd. A colossal pillar of combined fire and ice erupts from the ground and tears through the monster horde. The surviving soldiers watch in shock because he is using dual elemental control with fire and ice simultaneously. But Lu Sheng is just getting started. He realizes that the nature's breathing technique he has been cultivating does not just improve his control over a single element. It lets him wield multiple elements at the same time, and he is loving every second of it. He chains together Breath of Lightning with Breath of Fire and unleashes devastating combo attacks that shred through monsters in every direction. Then he switches to Breath of Soil combined with Breath of Fire and raises massive barriers of molten earth. Finally, he raises his weapon high and his eyes glow with pure elemental fury. He declares every last monster on this battlefield a pest. The young man brings down one final cataclysmic strike, which is a tidal wave of ice-blue energy that sweeps across the entire war zone and obliterates everything in its path. Lu Sheng is on an absolute tear. He is carving through monsters non-stop and slashing and blasting and incinerating everything that moves. The Western battlefront has turned into his personal hunting ground, and the soldiers watching from the sidelines can barely comprehend what they are seeing. One of them mutters that Lu Sheng has been fighting for 3 straight days without rest. He compares Lu Sheng to the sun and the monsters to moths flying into the flame. Lu Sheng himself is taking stock of the situation mid-battle. Through this battle, he can now use martial master-level elemental abilities and wield multiple elements simultaneously. That is when Commander Yu contacts him over comms and asks where he is. Lu Sheng casually reports that he is at a battlefront where the situation is kind of grave. He says it is such a good training ground that he just cannot bear to leave, and asks to stay a few more days before returning. Commander Yu reluctantly agrees since Division 1182's line is not in critical danger, but then he drops a warning. He says there is an out-of-control monster wave zone at the western battlefront that has become extremely dangerous. Headquarters cannot even send people there anymore. Lu Sheng immediately promises he definitely will not go there. But the scene reveals monster corpses piled up like a mountain behind him as he says this. Our boy is already there. Back in the ruins, the old soldier named Tao wakes up from unconsciousness. His buddies are overjoyed because they thought he was dead. But before anyone can celebrate, Tao looks around at the changed battlefield and screams in shock at Lu Sheng fighting in the distance. The young man walks over calmly and tells the survivors he needs their help with something serious. They snap to attention immediately. Then Lu Sheng asks his critical question. He wants to know which one of them knows how to cook. The guy just fought for 3 days straight, and his biggest concern is getting a hot meal. The scene shifts to the 9th Division of the Eastern Military Base, where General He Ding-jun, who is one of the 4 great generals, is receiving a full debrief. The 60-day rift outbreak has finally been completely suppressed, and it took 2 days longer than the estimated timeline. The general acknowledges that while this outbreak was not caused by human error, there are still questions about how the Eastern Military District handles supervision and safety protocols going forward. He requests a performance report on their 6th Division military base, including Lu Sheng's unit, and plans to meet with them later. but then his aide reminds him of an unsolved problem. The 8th defensive line has collapsed. Division 835's Feng Rong just sent a desperate request for reinforcements. General He slams the table in frustration. He asks what reinforcements because they have no one left to send. The 8th defensive line was guarding a grade 5 rift, and the division leader who was supposed to hold that line has sacrificed his life. Due to this single battle, 2 out of 20 precious general stars have been killed along with their troops. He says commanders with rank 7 or higher martial master abilities are irreplaceable military resources, and they have lost too many. Then something on the war map catches General He's eye. Division 1182's defensive line is the only region where the situation is being firmly held. He asks who is leading that division. The answer is Major General Yu Feiyi. The general's memory clicks. He remembers that headquarters had previously registered a promising seedling being nurtured by the martial saint, and Yu Feiyi was the one who recommended him. The kid's name was Lu Sheng. General He recalls the reports. Lu Sheng is a young great martial master who already has multiple great martial masters fighting over who gets to mentor him, and he has even been given access to produce his own martial arts manuals. The general smiles and says that once this is all over, he wants Yu Feiyi to pay him a visit. But the priority right now is the most critical defensive line, which is the one controlling monster distribution from the rift to the encampment to the civilians. General He orders an immediate data pull on that position. The holographic display loads, and the general's expression shifts. Something is wrong. He asks where the monsters are because the defensive line supposedly collapsed, but he does not see any monster movement nearby. He orders the cameras switch to different angles and other positions so he can see the actual state of battle. The feed cuts to a live view of the battlefield, and General He's jaw drops. They're engulfed in flames, and single-handedly holding the entire broken line is Lu Sheng. The general can barely get the words out. He asks if this is real and if one person really did forcibly contain an entire monster outbreak alone. The general immediately shouts the order. He tells them to find him and find out who that is right now. Meanwhile, out in the wilderness, the red-haired commander from earlier is leading a squad toward the collapsed defensive line. She reports taking out 4 monsters on the way and says they were ranks 5 and 6 and nothing unusual. Her partner confirms 2 more kills on their end. They are approaching the coordinates where the line supposedly broke, and she orders everyone to gather at the rendezvous point. But as they arrive, the red-haired commander stops dead in her tracks. Something does not add up. They told her the defensive line had collapsed. So she wonders why there are so few monsters here. The red-haired commander and her squad arrive at the gathering point near the supposedly collapsed defensive line, and nothing makes sense. They have been walking for half a day without encountering a single monster above rank 4. For a zone where the defensive line allegedly broke, this feels more like a casual stroll through the wilderness on a normal day. The red-haired commander finds this deeply suspicious. Common sense says that if an abnormal number of monsters poured through a broken line, they should be everywhere. She warns her squad to stay alert because if the monsters are not in the wilderness, they might have already pushed into the city. The team steels themselves and pushes forward, but there is nothing. Their detection instruments show 0 danger within 100 meters in any direction. No abnormal activity whatsoever. It is way too strange. The old city district between the wilderness and the defensive line should be crawling with creatures, but they have not met even a single monster. One squad member wonders if they all migrated to the other defensive lines, but the commander shuts that down. She says the monsters near this zone were instructed by their instincts to guard this area, and they were still swarming around just yesterday. Then a comm signal comes in. The Blue Star Squad, which is another reinforcement team, has just entered the wilderness and is reporting the exact same situation. No monsters anywhere. The red-haired commander decides they need eyes on the ground. She orders a drone deployed to scout ahead and check the recording near the rift. The drone feeds back footage, and still no monsters even close to the rift source. But then the drone gets shot down. The red-haired commander immediately orders her squad to move in and investigate personally. Turns out one of them, named Hai Z, is the one who shot the drone down. He thought it was an eagle or something and wanted to cook it for Lu Sheng. The old goggle-wearing soldier scolds him but then shrugs it off. He figures the drone's owner will probably show up soon anyway. Their bigger priority right now is figuring out what to cook for Lu Sheng next. The old man watches our boy fighting in the distance, still going at it, and whispers that the kid is an absolute monster. He wonders when he could ever become that strong. The red-haired commander's squad pushes deeper, and that is when the smell of blood hits them. She tells everyone to keep their guard up. All high-rank creatures slaughtered and stacked across the battlefield. Her eyes go wide because these are all corpses of high-rank monsters. A massive explosion draws their attention forward, and there he is. Lu Sheng is standing alone in the middle of the carnage, and he casually turns around and asks if they need something. 3 minutes later, the red-haired commander is sitting across from him at the campfire and trying to process everything. The red-haired identifies herself as part of the Tiger Scorpion Squad, which is an A-rank General Star unit sent by headquarters as reinforcements. She says there are at least dozens of squads converging on this area simultaneously, and they just happen to arrive first. She stares at the apocalyptic landscape around Lu Sheng and can barely form words. The sheer scale of the massacre is like nothing she has ever seen. The red-haired says this guy is definitely operating at Great Martial Master level or beyond. The young man looks so young, and yet she has never seen a General Star this terrifyingly powerful. The red-haired does not remember anyone like him in the rankings. The young man casually asks if this means headquarters will be sending people to rebuild this place soon. He mentions that for the past few days, the surviving infantry troops from Division 835 have been helping him hold things down at the foot of the broken line. They should be sending people within 2 days to assess the situation. Lu Sheng lets out a breath of relief and says it can finally end. The red-haired commander asks for his identity. Our boy introduces himself as a new recruit under Major General Yu Faiyi of Division 1182. He says he is from Division 835, and it has not even been half a month since he enlisted. The commander's jaw nearly hits the floor. She asks if he is joking. Lu Sheng tells her plainly that he is not joking. She is stunned into silence. She thinks that less than a month as a soldier and he single-handedly protected an entire battalion. That is terrifying. The red-haired recovers and makes him an offer. She tells him to come back to headquarters with her. He thinks about his supply of steam-type nutrient solutions running low and figures headquarters would definitely have better resources. The red-haired commander is thrilled. She mentions that many General Stars bring their families and friends to live at headquarters, and that has turned the place into something of a small city. But there is one small problem. Since Lu Sheng has never been to headquarters, he does not have an ID yet. He is technically classified as someone without clearance, which means no official accommodation. The red-haired commander blushes slightly as she delivers the only solution. She says he will have to stay at her place for tonight. Lu Sheng just stares blankly. Her name is Ruby, and she is the captain of the Tiger Scorpion Squad. Right off the bat, her vice-captain drops a hilarious reminder. She says that as female martial artists in this era, they have an important mission beyond fighting, which is passing on the genes of the strong. Ruby just brushes it off and moves on. That night, Lu Sheng finishes cleaning up after days of monster slaughter, but there is a problem. The smell of blood is practically baked into his skin at this point. He compares himself to a pot that has been simmering for too long. Ruby knocks on the door and asks if he is done. Lu Sheng steps out fresh and clean and tells her to stop calling him sir. He says he is just Lu Sheng, but the moment he sees Ruby cleaned up and shirtless, she freezes. Ruby asks what is wrong, and he quickly recovers and stammers that it is nothing, and suggests they had to get his General Star certification. Lu Sheng agrees but asks if they can grab food first. Meanwhile, the guy is having a full internal meltdown because he is not made of stone, and having a beautiful woman this close is testing his composure. Lu Sheng casually asks how old Ruby is. He recalls that all the powerful male General Stars are on the older side. Ruby says she is probably in her 50s and maybe nearing 60. Lu Sheng does a double take because she looks nowhere near that age. She is almost as old as his mom. His brain immediately jumps to comparing her with Dong Xingxie, and he catches himself. Our boy wonders why he is subconsciously putting them side by side because Dong Xingxie is not even here. They arrive at the assessment center, and Ruby's squad members immediately notice she has brought a young man along. One of them teases that she must have succeeded in her mission from last night. Another captain from a rival A-rank General Star team spots Ruby and gives her grief about leaving so quickly yesterday and already coming back with a mission cleared. Ruby shuts that down and says she is just here to help Lu Sheng register for the General Star position. The rival captain is impressed and jokes that the Tiger Scorpion team moves fast when it comes to snatching talent. Ruby explains the building layout to Lu Sheng. She says the first floor lobby handles General Star certification and strength assessment. The second floor is where you accept class missions. The processing desks are straight ahead. Lu Sheng walks up to the registration counter and says he is here for the General Star certification. The receptionist asks for his documents and military recommendation letter and other paperwork, but Lu Sheng does not have any of it. He tells her his superior said everything was already prepared and he just needs to provide his name. The receptionist hesitates but types in Lu Sheng. The moment his name pops up on screen, her entire demeanor changes. She tells him the paperwork can be waived and immediately escorts him personally to the strength assessment. Ruby decides to get her own strength reassessed while she is here. She fills out her form and Lu Sheng spots his age on the document. It says 19. Inside the testing room, another male captain walks past Ruby without acknowledging her and she calls him out. He turns out to be an old acquaintance named Lan Teng. They trade jabs about whether she has gotten stronger and he notices Lu Sheng. He assumes the kid is a new recruit joining the Tiger Scorpion team and comments that joining at such a young age means a bright future. Ruby corrects him and says Lu Sheng is not her teammate but a friend. Lan Teng raises an eyebrow. He thinks a friend, but the guy is so young. Then he takes a closer look and notices Lu Sheng is taller and better looking than him, and to have made it here the kid must be strong too. The other guys in the room immediately jump to conclusions and start calling it cougar hunting and making jealous remarks. Our boy tunes out all the noise. In his mind, a beautiful image of Dong Qingxie appears, and she is surrounded by flowers and looking serene and elegant. Then he catches himself mid-thought and stops. Lu Sheng wonders why he is thinking about Dong Qingxie again. Lu Sheng walks into the 9th military base to get his personal certification, which is something our boy has never once bothered to do. Ruby Zhan, who is the captain of the A-rank Tiger Scorpion squad, is the one bringing him in. Captain Lan is a bulky squad leader and he takes one look at Lu Sheng and starts sizing him up. Someone tells him to pay close attention to Lu Sheng's assessment and that despite being under 20, this kid is going to put on a show. He flexes every muscle on his shirtless body and wonders out loud what some kid could possibly have apart from looks that could rival him. His own squad members immediately start roasting him and ask what happens if the newcomer turns out to be younger and more handsome and way stronger. Then Lu Sheng steps into the assessment chamber and the entire building starts shaking. The ground rumbles so violently that everyone thinks it is an earthquake. Soldiers stumble and walls crack, and people scramble to figure out what is going on. The shocks are coming from the assessment level below. The measurement device lights up star after star. It keeps climbing until 12 full stars are blazing. The display locks in at 124 million combat power, a peak Great Martial Master. The officials watching can barely process it. One senior officer shouts and asks if this is real. It is very real, but the chaos is just getting started. The previous defensive line mission and the monster suppression operations are cancelled on the spot because there is simply no need anymore. The ranking board updates and a name nobody has ever seen before appears at the number 1 position, Lu Sheng. First assessment ever taken and straight to the top. Soldiers crowd around the board in disbelief. One guy mutters that Lu Sheng's combat power is 124 million, while he himself does not have even a fraction of that. Another one points out that at this rate the young man could master techniques that merge the power of heaven and earth, and he is not even 20 years old. A high-ranking officer named Tong Kuek-sing runs the numbers. He declares that given enough time, the Eastern Division will absolutely produce another rank 8. He believes they may actually produce a military headquarters Marshal Saint. Our boy, meanwhile, is completely unbothered. Someone asks if he wants to test again. Lu Sheng waves them off and says he has not been resting well lately, so this is his current limit. The staff nearly lose their minds because they realize this is not even his full power. Ruby stares at him in stunned silence when she realizes his combat strength exceeds 10 million. She tries to say his name, but the words catch in her throat. Captain Lan is now fully humbled and he drops to his knees and starts apologizing. His squad members cover for him and explain that their captain is not very bright and tends to say stupid things. Ruby tells them to be more careful in the future and lets it slide. But Lan is seething on the ground because he realizes the truth. Ruby Zhan managed to recruit an absolute monster and he completely missed his chance. Before anyone can settle down, a blonde soldier bursts in shouting for Great Martial Master Lu Sheng. Whatever comes next, our boy just turned the entire military base upside down, and he was not even trying. The blonde soldier who burst in looking for Great Martial Master Lu Sheng scans the room and immediately rules out everyone he sees because they are all too old. Then his eyes land on Lu Sheng and he hesitates. The guy does not look familiar and he is way too young. The soldier wonders if maybe the Great Martial Master already left, but Ruby confirms it on the spot and says that is him, Sir Lu Sheng. The soldier cannot believe it. He insists Ruby must be joking because the guy looks like a teenager. Ruby just sighs and says it is a long story. Before the commotion dies down, the crowd suddenly parts. General He Dingjun arrives, and he is a 5-star general and Great Martial Master. And a 5-star general is not just a title of rank and position. It means he is the person with the highest combat power in the entire Eastern military base. He Dingjun takes one look at Lu Sheng and calls him a young prodigy. He congratulates the base for once again producing a 12-star peak Great Martial Master, and then formally introduces himself and says he is honored to meet Lu Sheng. Lu Sheng greets him back casually and is completely unfazed. Our boy has been through so much at this point that meaningless pleasantries barely register. General He informs him that the paperwork for his formations has already been arranged, and his meritocratic points are being tallied. He even invites Lu Sheng to his office for tea. But the young man politely declines and says he just finished his certification and would like to get some rest first. He says, maybe next time. General He watches Lu Sheng walk away and is struck by something. This kid is not even 19 and he is younger than his own grandson. But the way Lu Sheng carries himself and the calm composure and the total lack of arrogance despite power that dwarfs everyone around him makes the general think. He Dingyun declares that Lu Sheng has the disposition of a martial saint. He believes the Eastern military base can finally achieve its long-cherished dream of producing a rank 9 martial saint. But He Dingjun is not done. He pulls Ruby aside and tells her he already knows about her dealings with Lu Sheng over the past few days. He Dingjun instructs her to guide Lu Sheng carefully and help him with anything he does not understand and resolve any problems that come up. He tells her not to hesitate to come to the general directly if needed. He emphasizes that Lu Sheng's potential is far greater than anyone can imagine, and his skills are extremely precious. Ruby blushes and agrees. Lu Sheng is escorted to the General Star residential area, where a personal attendant named Wang Ma greets him. The residence is one of the top 5 in the entire 9th Division base, and it was specially prepared by headquarters. It comes with private vehicles and a personal chef and full staff. The young man takes it all in and notes it reminds him of something from a previous life. Though he thinks the place is a bit smaller than he expected. He settles in quickly. He asks Wang Ma for a new phone and dismisses the attendant and then orders the chef to prepare some food. 10 minutes later, Lu Sheng is scrolling through his messages. News articles are already circulating about the shocking new top ranker. His squad chat is blowing up because Commander Yu and the rest have returned from the front lines. They are flooding the group with excited messages announcing they are back. But something else catches Lu Sheng's attention. He scrolls through his contacts and opens a chat with Dong Xingxue. She never sent any more messages after that one during the festival. Our boy wonders if maybe her phone died or she just did not bring it. But deep down he feels something is off. His relationship with her feels different now, and it is a far cry from when they used to get along so naturally. Then something clicks. Lu Sheng picks up a phone and calls a man named Wang Yan. The young man gives him a single order. He tells him to check on a guy called Lu Qiming, who is a new recruit in the Eastern military base this year, and originally from Beihai City. Lu Sheng wraps up his business at the base by making a few quick arrangements. He contacts headquarters about reporting to the 9th Division and asks Ellie to deliver a cure to someone. Then our boy collapses into a chair and is completely drained. He mutters that he is too tired to deal with visitors today and they can come back next time. But while Lu Sheng is resting, the shockwaves from his assessment are still rippling outward. Over at the 9th Division headquarters, the top brass are losing their composure. 12.5 stars. 124 million combat power. One officer confirms he personally verified the readings just days ago and says Lu Sheng's power surpassed even his own. The news officially breaks across the military network. A 19-year-old has shattered every martial arts record in the books and begun to rewrite what anyone thought was possible. Commander Qin and the rest of the squad finally arrive back at the base from the front lines. Major Kin is overjoyed to be home and dramatically declares how much he missed the place. The squad immediately starts planning. They want dinner tonight to celebrate, and obviously they are bringing Lu Sheng along. But one member of the group stays quiet. Dong Xingxiu says she will pass on dinner and tells them they can go without her. Major Qin notices something is off. He points out that she has been acting strange lately and that she has been cold and distant and nothing like her usual self. Someone flat out asks if she likes Lu Sheng. She snaps. She threatens to rip their mouth off if they keep spouting nonsense, but the squad is relentless. He tells her only someone blind would not notice the way she looks at him. Dong Xingxiu explodes and starts beating the guy. Major Qin immediately backpedals and apologizes and begs her to stop while admitting he was an idiot for opening his mouth. She says there are plenty of volunteers lining up for Lu Sheng already, and frankly it is impossible for someone as young and unaccomplished as her to meet the criteria for standing beside a peak great martial master. Dong Xingxiu is not even close to that level. She goes quiet for a moment and then says it plainly. It is impossible. But her friend refuses to accept that. She brings up Dong Xingxiu's two sworn brothers and says they are truly outstanding, and that connection matters. Dong Xingxiu points out that she and Lu Sheng liking each other was never something she got to choose. She knows her own personality, and once she decides something is impossible, she will not chase it. Major Qin lays out a path and says if Dong Xingxiu becomes a martial artist herself and earns enough merit and gains approval from Lu Sheng's inner circle, then there is a real chance. He reminds her that the two of them already know each other and that their connection is natural and genuine. He says, given who Dong Xingxiu is, if even a small possibility exists, she should not let it die without trying. Dong Xingxiu pauses. The resistance in her eyes softens. For the first time something shifts. She quietly says thank you. Dong Xingxiu stands at a crossroads. The seed has been planted, and whatever she decides next could change everything. Word about Lu Sheng's assessment has officially become the hottest topic on the entire base. Soldiers are crowding around notice boards and buzzing about the results. Someone urges their friend to hurry up and check the latest rankings because a new top ranker just appeared out of nowhere. Major Qin asks why everyone is in such a rush and gets told that some monster from the 9th Division just broke into the top rankings and everyone needs to see it for themselves. They pull up the data and sure enough it is Lu Sheng. The reaction is immediate. One soldier recognizes the name from the major battlefield reports and notes that Lu Sheng single-handedly contributed more than an entire squad during the last operation, a peak great martial master at his age. The disbelief spreads fast, with people gasping and stumbling over each other, trying to process what they are seeing. At the 9th Military Base Headquarters, Commander Yu Feiyi is called in for a private meeting. The commander congratulates him on a job well done during the last mission and says all objectives were completed cleanly. Yu Feiyi humbly deflects and says the great results had nothing to do with him personally. But then the commander pulls up something on his screen. He shows Yu Feiyi Lu Sheng's file. 12.5 stars of combat power. Peak Great Martial Master. Yu Feiyi's eyes go wide. He stammers and can barely keep it together because the kid on his squad is that insanely powerful. The commander tells Yu Feiyi to calm down and sit. Then he drops the real news. Starting now, Yu Feiyi will no longer be a regular commanding officer because he is being promoted. He will also be elevated from his current rank to the position of a lieutenant general. Yu Feiyi is stunned, and he thanks the commander with his voice shaking with emotion. Lu Sheng, meanwhile, is back at his residence examining his own body. His cells are evolving, and blood cells are multiplying, and tissues are restructuring at the molecular level. From the start of the stellar body refining technique until now, his body has been undergoing a transcendental level transformation. The young man notes that he is no longer a normal human in any biological sense, but he hopes he can at least keep looking like one because he is not interested in becoming some grotesque monster. He confirms that by mastering certain techniques, he should be able to manage his appearance despite the changes happening underneath. An attendant arrives with important information. Lu Sheng's meritocratic points have all been tallied. At the current market exchange rate, he has over 3.8 million meritocratic points. Lu Sheng considers this, but then he asks about secret gold, which is a rare and precious resource stored exclusively at the Eastern Military Base Headquarters. The guy does the math and realizes he still cannot afford to fully upgrade the handle of the Crystal and Scarlet Draconic Spear, but the attendant offers a workaround. He says if Lu Sheng does not have enough meritocratic points right now, he can spend an additional 100 million points as credit. Lu Sheng is shocked that he even has that kind of privilege. Then the attendant shows him something else, which is the demonic vine monsters and the extreme ice creatures available in the exchange catalog. These particular specimens are 10 times stronger than ordinary versions. Lu Sheng's eyes light up and he agrees immediately and tells the attendant to arrange it. The attendant quietly notes to himself that they should keep an eye on Lu Sheng, not to restrict him but to make sure he does not access battle realms that are too dangerous for even someone at his level. Lu Sheng overhears the concern and brushes it off. He says he is not God and that he is just using his protection rights as outlined in the regulations. But he adds that if someone accuses him of playing favorites, then so be it. Then his phone rings. Lu Sheng picks up. On the other end is Dong Qingshe. Dong Qingshe introduces herself and says that she and Qin Shaojin would like to treat him to dinner tonight. She asks if he is available. Our boy agrees without hesitation. He hangs up, but then something unexpected happens. Lu Sheng stares at his phone and is caught completely off guard by his own reaction. He cannot believe that even with his current level of body control and a body that has transcended normal human limits, his heart started racing at the sound of her name. Dong Qingshe arrives early for the dinner and stands outside waiting. She spots someone in the distance and recognizes them right away. Qin Shaojin shows up too, and the two of them are set to meet Lu Sheng at the Blue Dove restaurant. But Qin Shaojin, being the loudmouth he is, immediately starts teasing Dong Qingshe. He says he could tell from a mile away that she was all dressed up and looking different. Dong Qingshe tells him to screw off. On her way over, she passes a training ground and quietly tells herself that she wants to become a martial artist too. Not just an instructor, but a real one. Back at Lu Sheng's residence, a delivery has already arrived. Our boy checks the package and notes it got there faster than expected. It is still early before dinner, so he decides to use the time to cultivate. Inside the box is a rank 8 mutated marrow-changing liquid, and this is not ordinary stuff. The energy it provides is 10 times the amount of a standard rank 6 version. Lu Sheng cracks it open and downs the entire thing in a single gulp. He says it tastes absolutely disgusting. The young man waits a moment and notes that he does not feel anything special right away. But then it hits him hard. The energy from the liquid surges through his body, and Lu Sheng's cells begin absorbing the monstrous energy. A terrifying demonic phantom erupts behind him, and it is massive and fiery and radiating raw power 1,000 times. The liquid contains 1,000 times more energy than a standard rank 6 mutated marrow-changing liquid. His body starts undergoing a violent transformation. The young man realizes this could be completed after just this single dose, but it is pushing his limits to the absolute edge. He thinks the energy is a little similar to the process of directly cultivating and absorbing demonic creatures. But something unexpected happens. Lu Sheng notices that the bloody marrow-cambium liquid has completed its fusion further than anticipated. Only a tiny bit of excess energy remains, and the marrow-cambium cycle has been fully completed. It is still early, so he decides to keep going and cultivate just a while longer. Then a presence slams into his senses. Lu Sheng freezes. A cold and overwhelming aura washes over him, and it is something ancient and terrifying. He feels it deep in his bones. This feeling is not coming from the liquid. Something else has awakened. The pain hits all at once. Lu Sheng screams and collapses to the ground. Dark and violent energy erupts from his body in massive waves. The demonic force is overwhelming and tearing through his insides. He realizes he cannot handle this wave of energy. It was originally meant to be absorbed slowly and bit by bit as part of his cultivation. But the sudden surge has triggered something far beyond what his body was prepared for. Lu Sheng screams at whatever is happening inside him to back off. His resistance is at a level that should be far above anything this energy can produce. But the force keeps pushing. The energy is changing erratically and he cannot hold on much longer. His body begins to contort and shift and dark tendrils of power wrap around him. But the guy fights back. He forces every ounce of his willpower into containing the energy. Our boy knows that if he lets it consume him, his body will be torn apart. He roars and channels everything into one massive push, and a beam of blinding blue energy erupts from his body and shoots straight through the ceiling and into the sky. The shockwave rattles the entire building, and lightning crackles around him as the excess energy discharges outward. Then silence. Lu Sheng stands in the aftermath panting with his clothes torn and his body steaming. He knows the stellar body refining technique at this advancement level requires a terrifying amount of resources. But this stage and this breakthrough is complete. Lu Sheng confirms it. The next level of his body refinement has been achieved. But he suddenly realizes something. Lu Sheng checks the time and his face drops. He completely lost track of how long he was cultivating. His phone buzzes and it is Dong Qingxie calling. Lu Sheng picks up. She asks if he was cultivating and lost track of time. He admits it sheepishly. Dong Qingxie asks if there is anything else and he says no. She tells him it is fine and that she is going to go cultivate too. She says goodbye and hangs up. Our boy stares at his phone. Her tone was not angry exactly, but at the same time she seemed mad. He cannot quite figure it out. But before Lu Sheng can dwell on it, his phone rings again. This time it is instructor Qin Xiaojin. Lu Sheng picks up and the first words out of Qin's mouth hit hard. He tells Lu Sheng that he is screwed. Qin Xiaojin is on the phone with Lu Sheng and he is furious. He tells Lu Sheng that standing up Dong Qingxie was a terrible move because she waited for him and he never showed. But Lu Sheng explains that it could not be helped. His cultivation happened unexpectedly, and he could not control the timing. It just triggered on its own. Qin Xiaojin pauses and then laughs it off and calls Lu Sheng amazing and admits he wins this round. But Lu Sheng is not really listening. The young man realizes something feels off about his body after that breakthrough and decides he needs to go check on himself. He heads to the combat reality system. Lu Sheng enters the combat reality space and starts analyzing what just happened. He thinks back and remembers that the future version of himself could not cultivate the stellar body refining technique past a certain point because it was too much of a problem. But since he does not have to go out for his missed dinner appointment anymore, he might as well cultivate all the way to the end right here. He reflects on the technique itself. Our boy thinks the stellar body refining technique is basically a cheat because after reaching a certain threshold, its effects on the body multiply exponentially. Whether it is internal energy or external physical power, everything gets amplified far beyond what the base numbers suggest. Our boy begins pushing his body to the limit inside the combat space. He tests his striking power and is stunned by the results. It is as if his entire body has been completely reborn. He notes that for a normal person, cultivating this technique to its peak would be nearly impossible because it would require resources on an unimaginable scale. But for him, it is different. He is no longer cultivating his body through normal means. Lu Sheng is cultivating it without any exaggeration whatsoever because this is a technique that was invented by humans 10,000 years in the future. He thinks it would be strange if it were not this powerful. Lu Sheng reaches a critical realization. From now on, his internal energy and his physical body are completely unified. He understands the true nature of this reconstruction. When the two forces merge, his combat capabilities are not just doubled, they are compounded. With a compatibility rating close to 100%, he has surpassed the limitations of any technique currently known in this era. He thinks maybe now he can come up with even more powerful combinations and skills that exist only at the frontier of martial arts. And then he names it, the Stellar Undying Body. The moment it completes, golden energy erupts from his entire being. His body is wrapped in a blazing aura, and he stands transformed with muscles rippling with power that goes beyond anything a normal martial artist could achieve. But Lu Sheng is not done. He wants to test just how far this new body can go. Our boy scans the combat reality for a worthy opponent and locks onto a target named Go Xuan, who is a martial saint. The young man grins and decides to find out whether his current self can win against a martial saint in a single fight. Lu Sheng launches his attack. Flames and energy erupt as he charges straight at Gu Xuan. The martial saint responds with devastating force, and massive ice blue energy beams rain down from above and crash into the arena. The entire battlefield erupts in explosions. Blue lightning and golden fire collide in wave after wave of destruction. Lu Sheng tanks the hits head-on. Energy blasts tear through buildings and shatter the ground, and send shockwaves rippling across the entire space. Gu Xuan fires a massive concentrated beam straight at Lu Sheng. It is a pillar of blue energy so powerful it splits the sky. The impact is catastrophic. The ground caves in and debris flies everywhere, and the dust cloud stretches for blocks. When the smoke clears, Lu Sheng is still standing. He is battered and breathing hard, but alive and on his feet. He asks himself if this is what a martial saint's stellar blade feels like. But our boy has other plans. Lu Sheng activates everything he has. 3 eternal cells bloom to full power simultaneously in what he calls total bloom. His body ignites with the crystalline scarlet draconic force and golden energy wraps around him. Then he stacks it. The natural breathing technique activates in serial mode and layers power on top of power. Gu Shan senses it. He realizes this golden stellar energy can turn his own skill back against him. He can read Lu Sheng's thoughts through the energy flow, and what he sees shocks him. Lu Sheng is not holding back anymore. He is going all in. Lu Sheng declares it. Martial gods state. This is their perfected martial arts. He unleashes everything. A colossal blast of golden and purple energy detonates across the battlefield. The energy output is beyond anything either of them has produced before. The blast tears through everything. The shockwave expands outward in a blinding sphere of light and shatters the combat reality space itself. The battle with Gu Xuan in the combat reality space is over, and Lu Sheng is standing in the aftermath. Gu Xuan lies defeated, and in classic fashion, the martial saint mutters his final words. Our boy just grins. He was being too arrogant earlier because he assumed that a martial saint could never be this strong. Our boy was pushing Gu Xuan's ultimate move to its limit, and in the end, the martial saint simply could not keep up. Lu Sheng takes a moment to analyze what he learned. The young man thinks the void-shattering technique has definitely become stronger, and it has morphed deep into a 100-clone attack pattern, which doubles the previous numbers. He makes a mental note that when he actually uses this skill in front of normal people for the first time, his hands should already be tainted with the blood of a martial saint. The scene shifts. Rain pours down in a dark and cold alley somewhere in the past. A young boy shivers in the freezing downpour. Then an older boy, who is his brother, appears and grins despite the misery. He tells the kid to look at what he found. It is nutrient fluid. The brother explains he searched through a supply truck that just arrived and found 2 turbo bottles, but some guys from the local gang snatched one of them. He swears he will beat them up and take back everything they stole if he ever gets the chance. The younger boy, Little Xuan, begs his brother to stop fighting because it is too dangerous, but his brother refuses. The gang members nearby call the brother insane and warn everyone to stay away from the guy who does not care if he lives or dies. He tells Little Xuan to stop crying and watch closely. He teaches him the most important lesson of his life. He says to survive, you must be ruthless, and when you practice martial arts in the future, you must specialize in killing. Little Xuan cries and promises he will remember. A mysterious figure appears and tells the 2 boys that from today onward, they will follow him. The scene jumps forward. Little Xuan, who is now revealed to be the young Go Xuan, begs for his life and says he still has a sister who needs him. Another man nearby, clutching a photo of his daughter, pleads for mercy too, and the figure lets him go as well. Go Xuan's brother finishes a massacre. He confirms that every target is dead and says all of them were cultists from the Doomsday cult. He says if you do not kill others, then others will kill you. Go Xuan understands and calls him brother and accepts the lesson. But then tragedy strikes. Someone comes running and calling out for Go Xuan. They deliver the news: his brother is dead. Go Xuan's brother fended off the Doomsday cult's revenge attack on his own, and he killed 13 rank 6 experts, but he could only last so long against that many enemies. The pain warps Go Xuan. A master explains that the Doomsday cult members are not considered human anymore, and they are the biggest tumor hidden within humanity. He says nothing they say can be trusted. Go Xuan laughs bitterly and mutters about his daughter. The darkness inside him begins to consume everything. A senior figure named Lord Duan. He tells Go Xuan that his talent in the killing Dao is becoming too extreme and his bloodlust is out of control. Lord Duan says he can only teach him the Wheel of Desire blade technique. But he will only meet Go Xuan after all the bloodlust within his sword has been purged. Years pass. Go Xuan is told to wait another 10 years. Then another decade. Eventually the message comes. Lord Duan will never see Go Xuan again in this lifetime. From today onward, Go Xuan is on his own. Go Xuan breaks. He asks himself if he went astray, All he knows is killing, and he wonders if that was wrong. He was the one who was taught that martial arts exist to kill. He followed that path to its extreme, and now everyone has abandoned him. Lu Sheng watches all of this unfold through Gu Xuan's memories. The bloodthirst is overwhelming. Every single memory is cultivation and battles and more cultivation and more battles. And every battle is a massacre. Complete and ice-cold slaughter. The young man once thought the killing intent he sensed was just a side effect of decades of warfare. But it was not a side effect. It was Gu Xuan's entire identity. Gu Xuan followed the Tao of slaughter, which is the rarest and most dangerous path in martial arts. He killed more people than he ever killed monsters. The number of humans he slaughtered reached the hundreds of thousands. Even after establishing such a monstrous reputation, Gu Xuan became a slaughtering machine in the military and someone everyone feared. The Tao of slaughter was always considered taboo among martial artists, and Gu Xuan was its darkest practitioner. Our boy takes a breath. After absorbing all of Gu Xuan's memories, his facial muscles feel ice cold as if the killing intent has seeped into his own body. He thinks about how it is like that old saying about a fishmonger who killed fish for 10 years and never felt a thing because his heart became as cold as his knife. Lu Sheng knows he will need to watch 100 comedy specials just to recover from this experience. But then he finds something. It is Gu Xuan's martial arts core, which is the essence of his entire fighting philosophy, compressed into a single fragment. It looks like a piece of a blade's edge. Lu Sheng examines it carefully. The energy is pure and condensed killing intent. Gu Xuan's final philosophy echoes through the core. Human lives are like grass, and this/which is the culmination of a lifetime of slaughter and pain and loss and rage, and everything Gu Xuan ever was is named slaughtering intent. Lu Sheng's second dharmic pattern lights up and the creation is successful. This one is a longsword pattern, and compared to the Divine Whale's Wave Rider he already carries, this new pattern is cleaner and sharper and significantly stronger. Both Bu Xun and Gu Xian were martial saints who followed the Tao of slaughter, but Gu Xian trained far more intensely than anyone from Zayun Mountain. The sheer amount of killing intent baked into this pattern is off the charts. And the scariest part is that it is nearly impossible to estimate just how much this thing has boosted Lu Sheng's combat power. Our boy gives the new longsword a test swing. The blade tears through the air and rips a gash in space itself. That is not an exaggeration because the weapon literally cuts through the fabric of reality. Gu Xuan's honed killing intent was always his deadliest weapon, and now Lu Sheng has inherited every ounce of it. He pauses and thinks. He has been collecting martial arts from the 8 orthodoxy points and forging and leveling up one discipline at a time. But he wonders why bother being picky. Why not just absorb every complete martial art he can find and master whatever turns out to be strongest? He just needs more methods and more secret arts and more raw material. Early the next morning, Lu Sheng pulls up the daily briefing on his tablet and a notification catches his eye. The overall military district martial arts demonstration tournament is coming up. Every zone in the district and all 7 divisions will be sending their 4 senior generals to compete against each other first. After that, the winners from each district face off at Grand Harvest Mountain in the Inter-District Grand Tournament. The entire Eastern Military District only has 4 senior generals to begin with, and across all of Dragon Country the total number sits below 30. This is as big as it gets. But here is the thing that stings. Lu Sheng checks the prospect rankings, and even with his 12.5-star combat power, he is only listed as a top 20 candidate. That means the military headquarters is absolutely stacked with peak-level great martial masters. The number 1 name on the overall general star leaderboard is Cheng Chi, and the guy has a combat power of 27 stars. And the senior generals are sitting at 30 stars and above. The young man finally understands why the headquarters is so obsessed with recruiting rank 9 martial saint experts. At that level, the talent pool is insanely deep. He will be stunned. But before Lu Sheng can start planning his tournament run, another headline grabs his attention, and this one kills the mood instantly. Cultists attacked a town in Hawk County. Citizens were offered up as blood sacrifices, and over 1,000 lives were lost. Every male in the town was slaughtered. The women and children were taken and forced to become believers. Lu Sheng's expression goes ice cold. According to intelligence, these cultists are deeply connected with the other world. They worship entities from beyond the rifts and use dark methods to summon monsters and cause widespread destruction. Lu Sheng decides right then and there that he is heading to the depths of the rift to deal with this himself as soon as possible. But carrying everything alone would be exhausting, so he figures he should find some help first. The young man tracks down a red-haired woman who is a rift guide and asks her to lead him into the deepest parts of an AAA rank rift. He tells her he just got here and does not know the layout, so he will hand over his entire mission point collection as payment. One of them whispers that if the other A-rank squads found out, they would be furious with jealousy. But the captain keeps it practical and says the loot is secondary. Ruby says what matters is building a good relationship with Sir Lu. The squad members immediately start trying to suck up to him and promise they will not be a bother. She agrees and they set a meeting time at the entrance of the mission center later that night. Word spreads fast. 3 hours later, the team arrives at the rift entrance. The guide begins her briefing. She explains that a rift is split into levels that descend continuously, and the deeper you go, the stronger the monsters get. No one knows how many levels exist below, but she says the most dangerous thing in a rift is not the monsters, it is the abyssal crack. The abyssal crack is the point of origin and the actual connection to the other world. It emits the aura of the other world every single second, and in their world, that aura manifests as a strange and thick black fog. This fog weakens the power of martial artists and disables electronic devices and can even turn normal people into feral and mindless beasts. Lu Sheng listens carefully. The fog only affects normal civilians because martial artists can resist it. But everyone still avoids the abyssal crack because once you get close, an endless stream of monsters comes pouring out of it. The guide adds one more detail that catches Lu Sheng's attention. Ruby says the black fog is eerily similar to the darkness that blankets the dream space. The team finishes preparations. The guide tells Lu Sheng they are ready to move. But our boy has one more question. Lu Sheng asks what would happen if someone were to actually enter the abyssal crack. The entire squad freezes. Every pair of eyes goes wide. Nobody has ever been crazy enough to try that. The red-haired guide stares at Lu Sheng. Enter the abyssal crack? She hesitates and then admits she is not sure what would happen. Lu Sheng presses and asks if no one has ever tried it. Ruby tells him that plenty of people have tried, but every single one of them vanished without a trace. There is no answer to that question because no one has ever come back to give one. And the people who disappeared were not amateurs. Some of them were martial saint experts. Lu Sheng's eyes narrow. The guide drops an even bigger bomb. She says 2 years after the start of the martial arts era, 4 countries cooperated, and each sent a martial saint into an abyssal crack. That is 4 martial saints working together and entering at the same time. There has been no word from any of them ever since. She tells Lu Sheng this is classified information and top-level confidential across all of Dragon Country. The guide reassures the group that as long as they stay above 30 levels deep in this AAA rank rift, they should be fine. Ruby turns to him with a deadly serious expression and begs him not to even think about going in there. Lu Sheng nods and says he is aware. The team descends into the rift and our boy is already thinking 3 steps ahead. Our boy plans that once he gets back, he will enter the dream space and dig through the forbidden library for anything related to abyssal cracks. He is convinced there must be a massive secret hidden inside those cracks. They push deeper and cut through monsters along the way. Lu Sheng asks if there is anything else worth watching out for besides the abyssal cracks. The guide pauses. She says there is one more thing, which is martial arts fanatics. The young man has never heard the term before. The guide explains that martial arts fanatics are martial artists who were rejected by society and ended up living inside the rifts and killing monsters for years on end. Many of them originally belonged to martial arts academies, and they were chasing the impossible dream of becoming the ultimate martial artist. But nobody in the military cares about them because they stay hidden in the rift and keep to themselves. Lu Sheng asks why they need to be careful of people who just want to fight monsters. The guide's face darkens. Ruby says it is because these fanatics have pushed martial arts cultivation to the absolute extreme and they will do anything to break through their limits. They believe that consuming the flesh of the strong, while under the influence of the rift's environment, will help them evolve beyond human limits. Lu Sheng absorbs this quietly. He thinks that compared to Gu Shan and his Tao of slaughter, these people are the ones who have truly gone off the deep end. 1 hour later, the team reaches the rift's 10th floor. The fog clears and the guide announces they have arrived at the entry to the abyss, which is the real danger zone. She says once they step inside, the black fog will be everywhere, and visibility drops to almost nothing. Lu Shang steps forward and tells the group not to worry. He says he is a spiritualist and they can follow his lead. Then, without warning, he reaches out and lets the black fog wash over his hand. The guide nearly screams, but our boy is completely fine. He explains it is just a test, and the fog barely has any effect on him. No matter how much of the black fog enters his body, the moment it makes contact with his stellar body-refining art physique, it gets completely eliminated. His body is so strong, it does not even allow remnants to exist. Monsters start swarming as they descend further. Lu Sheng tears through them without breaking a sweat. The squad watches in stunned silence. Even the rank 5 Black Moon Solar Warriors cannot get close to this level of combat. The red-haired guide mutters to herself and wonders if this is really the strength of a general with over 12 stars of combat power. Ruby thinks that not only does he have overwhelming physical ability, but his psychic cultivation is equally monstrous. Then Lu Sheng punches straight into the ground. The entire cavern shakes and smoke and debris erupt from the crater. The squad panics and asks if he is all right. Lu Sheng calmly brushes himself off and says he is fine. He says he was just testing what it feels like to kill monsters without a weapon. Our boy tells them to gather whatever useful tissue remains and keep moving. The guide just stares at the perfectly clean cut left behind in the rock. Ruby cannot understand how someone without a weapon can leave that kind of mark. But before they can dwell on it, Lu Sheng freezes. He senses people coming. The guide is alarmed and asks if they could be enemies. The whole squad draws weapons and braces for a fight. But then a familiar group emerges from the fog. It is the Rapana Battlestar squad, and they are friendly forces. The red-haired guide recognizes one of them immediately and calls out to Yao Yu, and Yao Yu spots her right back and calls out to Ruby. The two squads converge, and Lu Sheng's team immediately notices something is wrong. The Rapana squad looks destroyed. They have been inside the rift for almost a month and lost several people and have gained absolutely nothing from it. Ruby asks them which level they are planning to go to. Yao Yu's expression shifts instantly. He grabs her arm and tells her with absolute urgency not to go below level 25 at all costs. He says the martial arts fanatics down there have completely lost their minds, and they are actively hunting military district general stars. 2 entire squads have already been wiped out and all contact has been lost. Yao Yu says he ran the moment he received that intelligence. The young man stands quietly behind the group and listens to every word. His expression hardens. It sounds like he is going to have to pay level 25 a personal visit. Yao Yu warns them that the 25th level is a death trap, but Lu Sheng is not fazed. He points out that it is only the 25th level, and if the fanatics are bold enough to attack general stars there, then that is a collective issue. Ruby notes that the Rapana squad's captain is usually a careful and cautious person, so his warning carries weight. Lu Sheng reassures everyone and says they may not need to go below level 25 this time. But even if they do, just as he brought all of them down here safely, he will naturally bring them all back out. The squad nods. They push deeper. Lu Sheng blasts through every monster in their path without slowing down, and the team crosses into level 25. He takes a breath. They have finally reached it, and with his current strength, as long as they do not run into the legendary rank 9 monster, they are in practically no danger. The young man pulls out a notebook and checks the data from the mithril ores mentioned in the intelligence reports. The deposits should be nearby. He scans the area with his psychic senses and locks onto something deep underground, a massive vein of mithril glowing in the dark. He found it. Lu Sheng's eyes sharpen and he tells the squad to follow closely. He charges ahead so fast the team can barely keep up. Ruby screams after him and tells him to wait for them. But our boy is already gone and tearing through levels 26 and 27 and 28 and 29 and smashing straight down to level 30 without breaking stride. Ruby chases after him and her heart is pounding. She has no idea how deep he plans to go. The environment is getting more and more hostile with thicker fog and stronger monsters and heavier pressure, but Lu Sheng is handling it all effortlessly and clearing the path ahead with nothing but raw power and his glowing psychic energy. The squad scrambles to keep up as he carves a tunnel through the rift. They reach the deposit. Lu Sheng obliterates the massive monsters guarding it, including a gigantic armored beast, in a single sequence of devastating attacks. He orders the squad to collect the tissue fluid from the kills and then turns his attention to the ground. He rips open the earth and reveals a gleaming vein of mithril ore. The squad loses their collective minds. One of them stutters and says that this is mithril. He keeps repeating it. They are going to be rich. Lu Sheng casually glances at the ore and confirms it is pure mithril, and the vein is a decent size too. Ruby inspects the find and agrees. She says the quality is high and the deposit should be substantial. The squad is already doing the math in their heads. One of them calculates that this is worth enough to upgrade everyone in the squad to A rank. Going from level 700-something combat gear to the next tier and even custom S-grade battlesuits would be within reach. They can barely contain themselves. But one of the squad members gets a little too excited. Then a dark look crosses his face. Ruby catches it immediately and snaps at him to shut up. The captain freezes. Ruby asks if he is okay and he stammers and realizes what just happened. He was not himself for a second. He immediately drops to his knees in front of Lu Sheng and begs for forgiveness. He swears it was not intentional. Ruby steps in and smooths things over. She says everything here naturally belongs to Sir Lu and tells the captain to be reasonable. The man agrees frantically. The guy does not dwell on it. He uses a massive psychic attack to crack open the entire mithril vein in one shot. A grid of purple energy slices through the rock and shatters it into collectible chunks. The squad just stands there with their mouths open. He tells them to stop staring and start picking it up. They scramble to obey and stuff mithril ore into every container they have. One of them groans and says if he had known he would not have given those 2 bags of supplies to the Rapana squad earlier. He says that mithril could have fit in there. Another one agrees and says they should not have bothered with charity, but Lu Sheng is not paying attention to the ore anymore. Something else has caught his senses. He notices that some of the monsters in the area are behaving strangely, and they are clearly not acting like normal rift creatures. Their movements are deliberate and almost coordinated, and it looks like they are being influenced by something. Something is off about this part of the rift, and our boy can feel it. Then the sound hits, footsteps. Not monster footsteps, but human, from every direction, shambling and dragging and scraping along the cave floor. Figures emerge from the darkness, and the sight is horrifying. They are emaciated and hollow-eyed and barely recognizable as human. But Lu Sheng does not flinch. He steps forward, and purple energy erupts around his entire body. Our boy tells them to bring it on. He says he will deal with all of them in one shot and save himself the trouble of hunting them down one by one later. Lu Sheng says these pests should all die. The mithril haul is massive. The squad stuffs every container they have until the bags are bursting and there is still ore left on the ground. Lu Sheng tells the team they did a great job and says once they get everything out of the rift, he will give them 10% of the total haul. The squad erupts because 10% of a pure mithril vein is life-changing money. One of them bows and thanks Lord Lu immediately. Ruby, ever polite, tries to refuse on behalf of the group and tells Lu Sheng they are unworthy and cannot accept such generosity. But Lu Sheng shuts that down cold. He says he does not care if they feel undeserving. If he wants to give it to them, they take it. End of discussion. Ruby flinches at the sheer authority in his voice and accepts without another word. Something is wrong. She turns to Lu Sheng and tells him something is coming. Lu Sheng does not even blink. He knows. He has been waiting for them. Figures crawl out of the shadows from every direction. They are emaciated and barely human, and dragging themselves across the stone floor. Their mouths are moving in unison, and they keep repeating fresh meat over and over. The martial arts fanatics have arrived. The squad freezes in terror. These are all martial masters, and every single one of them. Ruby recognizes what they are immediately. But something does not add up. These fanatics are known for being lone predators, who even eat their own kind. They have never worked together before. So she wonders why they are moving as a group now. Lu Sheng figures it out instantly. There is only one explanation. Somewhere among them there is a leader with absolute power who commands them all. A king. Right on cue, slow clapping echoes through the cavern. A figure steps forward from the darkness and radiates confidence. He praises Lu Sheng for being smart and strong and says that eating his flesh will make him even more powerful. His name is Lu Moying. Ruby's blood runs cold. She knows that name. Lu Moying, the former Star of the East and one of the most talented fighters in the Eastern Military District's history. Back then, only the top prodigies earned that title, and Lu Moying held it with a combat power exceeding 13 stars. But he mysteriously vanished during a rift suppression mission over a decade ago. Everyone assumed he was dead. Now here he stands alive and twisted and surviving by consuming the flesh of fellow martial artists. The squad does the math and panics. Lu Moying had 13 stars of combat power 10 years ago, and Lu Sheng only has 12 and a half. They wonder if they are finished. Ruby snaps at them to shut up. Lu Moying overhears and laughs. He asks about resources and glances at the mithril and the squad members standing right there. Lu Moying says, speaking of resources, they have plenty right here. He tells them he is done talking to food and his patience has run out. Then he attacks. One of the squad members takes a direct hit and screams in agony. Lu Moying's body erupts. His form twists and warps into something monstrous. Lu Moying becomes a towering demonic figure with muscles bulging grotesquely and power flooding out of every pore. He throws his head back and laughs. The squad stares in pure horror and wonders what that thing is. The pressure pouring off him is suffocating. Lu Moying sneers and says that Star of the East is ancient history. He explains. He says back then he was nothing, but thanks to the abyss deep inside this rift he discovered its secret. In his desperation to survive, he received guidance from what he calls the gods. Our boy's eyes narrow. He wonders what Lu Moying means by gods. Lu Moying grins and says the essence of martial arts is to become stronger by any means necessary. He says they told him the truth. If eating exotic beasts makes a martial artist stronger, then eating other martial artists would be even more effective. He says after all, martial artists make the best food. Lu Sheng cuts through the rambling and asks who they are. Lu Moying ignores the question completely. Lu Moying throws his arms wide and declares that he is no longer the Star of the East. He says he is the Son of the East and the demonic sun. Lu Moying says one day his light will extend past the rifts and engulf the entire surface world. Lu Sheng's expression goes flat. He has asked twice now. Lu Moying does not answer. The young man takes a single step forward and the air changes. An overwhelming wave of oppression crashes over the entire cavern. It is raw and suffocating and absolute. Lu Moying's cocky grin vanishes. His demonic form actually recoils. He wonders what kind of pressure this is. Lu Sheng does not wait for a response. He launches forward and delivers a single devastating strike. Lu Moying screams. Whatever answer Lu Sheng was looking for, he will find it himself, even if he has to tear through every level of this rift to get there. Lu Moying, who was the former Star of the East and the self-proclaimed demonic sun, and the monster who terrorized 2 entire military squads, could not withstand a single blow. The fanatics surrounding him stare in disbelief. Their king, with combat power exceeding 13 stars, was swatted down like he was nothing. Ruby watches from behind and her mind is racing. She wonders just how strong Lord Lu Sheng actually is. The other fanatics turn and run, but Lu Sheng does not let a single one escape. He unleashes a wave of power that sweeps through the entire cavern, and golden energy cuts through the darkness in every direction. One man repelling all the martial arts fanatics this deep in the rift by himself. Ruby mutters in awe and says that if anyone at the upcoming martial arts demonstration tournament could see this, they would not believe it. Lu Sheng tells the squad this area is cleared and to wait here for a moment. Then he vanishes deeper into the rift alone. Something Lu Moying said is still bothering him. The words God, and they keep running through his head. He needs to find out what Lu Moying meant by that for himself. He descends into the deepest parts of the rift. The environment shifts completely. Everything is darker and quieter and unnervingly quiet. The black mist is so dense that even with his 7th or 8th level mental abilities, Lu Sheng can barely probe through it. Anyone with weaker psychic senses would be completely blind down here. He pushes forward anyway. Then something catches his eye. A glowing orb of light appears in the void ahead, and when Lu Sheng looks through it, his jaw drops. On the other side is a completely different world, with bright sky and green trees and lush vegetation, and standing there is a creature he has never seen before. It is a small and winged humanoid figure with delicate features and pointed ears. A native of another world. The young man cannot believe it. There is intelligent life on the other side. The creature seems to notice him too. She looks curious and almost fascinated. Lu Sheng stares. He wonders if she could be friendly toward humans. His mind starts wandering and he thinks about whether there could be some kind of connection across worlds. But then reality snaps back hard. The beautiful image shatters. The fairy-like creature was never real. Behind the illusion, a grotesque and fleshy monstrosity is waiting. It speaks in a sweet and coaxing voice and tells him not to be afraid and to come closer. It calls him chicken and tells him he will find everything he desires here. The creature reaches for Lu Sheng with writhing appendages and beckons him deeper. It tells him to return and join and prostrate himself. It says to enter its embrace. This is what Lu Moying was talking about. This is the god of the rift, the thing that whispers to desperate martial artists and turns them into cannibalistic monsters. It tried to seduce Lu Sheng with a perfect illusion, and when that failed it dropped the act entirely. But our boy is not impressed. Not even a little. He smirks. That illusion actually scared him for a second, but he cannot believe the creature actually fell for its own trick and thought it would work. Lu Sheng calls it exactly what it is, a complete idiot. The creature's sweet voice turns into a furious roar. It commands its monsters to grab him and they lunge from every direction. Meanwhile, back at the surface level, Ruby is going through the bodies. Ruby finds Lu Moying's corpse and confirms his identity because his ID tag is still intact. She starts collecting tags from all the other fallen fanatics. Nearly 30 martial masters in one spot, and this is probably the biggest cleanup of missing martial artists the military district has seen in recent years. They all officially died long ago. One extra death at this point does not matter. None of them were good anymore. Lu Sheng reappears. Ruby calls out and says, "Sir, you are back." Lu Sheng tells everyone to pack up immediately and says they need to leave the rift now. He also orders Ruby to find a way to notify the other squads still inside the rift to evacuate as well. Ruby asks what happened. The young man keeps it casual. He says nothing much and that he just accidentally made some little creatures deep in the rift angry. And right on cue, the ground begins to shake. From the deepest levels of the rift, something massive is clawing its way up. It is a towering and grotesque entity made of green energy and twisted flesh, and it is charging toward the surface with fury in every step. The creatures from the deep rift are surging upward and screaming for blood. Lu Sheng grabs the entire squad and runs. He blasts a path upward and carries everyone while fighting off the horde at the same time. The squad can barely keep up, but our boy does not slow down for a single second. They burst through the upper levels and finally make it back to the surface. Lu Sheng seals the rift entrance behind them with a massive blast that collapses the tunnel. 3 huge crates of mithril ore sit beside them because they managed to haul everything out. Ruby collapses in relief. The scene shifts to the Eastern Military District headquarters. The small Tiger Scorpion squad, which is Ruby's crew, arrives with their haul and the place goes wild. Other soldiers crowd around the massive pile of mithril ore with their eyes bulging. They cannot figure out how they found this much mithril in such a short time. Not only is the quantity enormous, but the purity is extremely high. But then someone notices the license plate on the vehicle that dropped them off. DZ0002. The entire crowd freezes. That is the Peak General's personal vehicle. The realization hits them hard. That unfamiliar young man who was with them is the Peak Great Marshal General. Ruby confirms it. The soldiers groan, and one of them says if only he had grabbed onto Lu Sheng's leg, he would be on the path to success right now. The squad discusses among themselves. Even though Lord Lu is officially classified as a Great Martial Master with 12-star combat power, nobody who was down in that rift believes that number for a second. Based on what they witnessed, they think Lu Sheng's true combat power could be 20 stars or above. The revelation sends shockwaves through the group. 5 minutes later, Lu Sheng arrives at his villa. He tells the squad to take all the mithril to the military's tallying office and says once everything is sorted, they will transfer the shares that belong to the squad into their accounts. Everyone is dismissed. Lu Sheng heads straight to his bedroom. He enters the dream space, which is the future world 10,000 years from now. He goes directly to the Forbidden Library inside the Fireseed Plan's archives. He needs to understand 2 things: what the Abyssal Crack actually is, and what those monsters in the depths of the rift really are. The data links to the second battlefront. The Fireseed Plan defines the Abyssal Crack as a fissure in space that forms when 2 worlds overlap and collide. Each fissure is different, and the more complete ones develop an interior that forms into a warped combat zone, which is a gray zone between dimensions. Lu Sheng stares at the information, and the scope of what he is reading starts to sink in. The second battlefront is the gray zone. The two worlds exist on completely different levels, with different space and different time, and even different universal laws. But for unknown reasons, they collided and overlapped. And the collision point is the abyssal crack. This is the origin of the monster invasion. The world on the other side is overwhelmingly stronger than theirs, and the difference in raw power is massive. Monsters from the other world can cross into the human world without much difficulty, but going the other direction is nearly impossible. The young man connects the dots. That is why in all the memories he absorbed from the dream world, zombies, rank 10 and rank 11 experts are almost never seen in action. Those legendary warriors are only heard about and never witnessed, because all of them crossed over to the second battlefront to fight the powerful monsters descending from the other world. Countless experts joined the battlefront one after another across the centuries. And just as humanity sent its strongest, the monsters from the other side grew more powerful over time as well. This became the defining conflict for the next 10,000 years of martial arts history, and in the end humanity lost. That is why the world Lu Sheng visits in his dreams is a wasteland. The human side could not produce enough rank 10 experts to hold the line. The Fireseed plan and everything associated with it exists because humanity was desperately trying to accelerate the development of top-tier martial artists. Our boy absorbs all of this and his mind races. He thinks back to the people in the present, his classmates and his friends at the military academy, and the ordinary citizens who have no idea what is coming. The end of the world scenario from the future does not seem to have much relation to him right now. But then something clicks. No. It has everything to do with him. He thinks that if he reaches rank 9 through his martial arts alone, or perhaps even rank 10, would he be able to walk into the other world and squish every single one of those monsters to death. The thought ignites something inside him. Energy explodes outward. Lu Sheng's martial will shatters through a barrier he did not even know was there. A breakthrough happens, not in rank but in resolve. His goal is now crystal clear, and because of that clarity, his martial will has advanced. He evaluates his next steps. It looks feasible. Our boy needs to reach at least rank 12 in the dream space as quickly as possible. Visions of the apocalypse flash through his mind, the civilization annihilation crisis and the fall of humanity and the end of everything. Lu Sheng's eyes burn with determination. He will not let the war drag on for another 1,000 years. The morning after his breakthrough, Lu Sheng is back at his villa in the present world. A maid greets him and presents a specialty Long Swan Longjing tea, which is a gift from Butler Wang. Lu Sheng takes a sip and pauses. He thinks the peculiar energy contained in this tea is interesting. Life has changed. The butler arrives with another delivery. The level 7 spear Lu Sheng previously custom ordered is ready. Lu Sheng uses telekinesis to pull the weapon to his hand and gives it a few test swings. His eyes light up. This is not just an ordinary level 7 weapon because the energy and impact feel closer to level 8. He is very satisfied. He tells the butler he received a lot of mithril from his recent trip and will send along the blueprints for the next order later. The butler bows. He says Li Jia should show Butler Wang out, and since Butler Wang's friends are coming over later, she should prepare some food. As the butler and Li Jia walk out together, the butler tells her she is very lucky to have met someone like Lord Lu Sheng. Li Jia agrees quietly. The butler encourages her and says to work hard and not to betray Lord Lu's trust. He says there may be a chance for her to be liberated from her hardship in the future. Li Jia falls silent and processes those words, but then an older man shows up and he apparently knows Li Jia personally. He calls her by name and says he is a friend of her parents and someone who even carried her when she was young. He tells her that working under Lu Sheng is just like serving a master and asks if that is really all she wants. The man keeps pushing, but Li Jia eventually just says all right, and the scene ends with her looking confused and conflicted. The scene shifts to the 3rd Eastern Military Base's airport. A flashy guy with spiky blonde hair and a decorated military uniform spots her and immediately lights up. He says he can tell she is a 7-star general. The silver-haired woman introduces herself formally. Dongxing Shui says she is from Division 762 of the 9th Military Base under Major General Yu Feiye. Her name is Colonel Dongxing Shui, and she offers a formal greeting. He casually invites her to have dinner with him tonight and says he will invite her general too. Dong Qingsha declines politely. She says she already has an appointment tonight and is currently waiting for someone. The blonde general's expression shifts. The blonde general scoffs and tells her to get them to come along too. He lets out a booming laugh and says he will let Dong Qingsha see for herself exactly who he is. Right on cue, a voice calls out and asks who he is. A general from the Eastern military base steps in. The blonde general attacks without warning, and a burst of energy crashes into the newcomer. But the Eastern general takes the hit and fires back. He is not here to fight, though. Dong Shengyi recognizes the situation and calls out to her brother. The silver-haired woman turns. Standing before her is Dong Shengyi, who is a powerhouse in his own right. He greets his little sister warmly and notes it has been a long time. Dong Shengyi tells him he has not changed one bit with that personality. Dong Shengyi grins and tells her to go back and let all the experts at the Eastern military base know that Dong Shengyi has arrived. Later that night at a bar, Lu Sheng is having drinks with a green-haired friend who is one of his fellow soldiers. The guy fills Lu Sheng in on the gossip. He says Dong Xingxie went to the 3rd military base to pick someone up. Lu Sheng asks who. The friend explains that it is not a friend but a relative, her half-brother with the same father but different mother, Dong Shengyi. Major Qin says Dong Shengyi is insane, and just like Lu Sheng, he is a monstrous martial arts genius. Dong Shengyi was the martial saint's last disciple and can be considered the martial saint's successor. Lu Sheng's response is measured. He says, "Is that so? And that is indeed amazing." Major Qin catches the lack of enthusiasm immediately. He says looking at Lu Sheng's face, he does not seem the least bit impressed. The friend leans in. He says he knows Lu Sheng's combat power has already hit 12 stars at a young age, and he has been praised to the skies by the Eastern military base for his talent. But he warns Lu Sheng not to get slack. He says Dong Shengyi is not normal, and a martial saint's successor is not as simple as it sounds. And that is not all. Dong Shengyi tells Lu Sheng that Dong Xingxie has another brother named Dong Pak Xiao, who is ranked first on the capital military base's General Star leaderboard. His combat power is a staggering 27 stars, and his nickname is the Central Military Base's Eastern Emperor. That is more than double Lu Sheng's official number. The friend tells him to just try and visualize what that gap means. Lu Sheng is sitting at the bar with his green-haired buddy, and this guy is not letting up. He points out that even Dong Xingxie has stopped hiding her feelings at this point, and Lu Sheng is still pretending not to notice. The friend calls him out hard and says our boy might be exceptional at martial arts, but when it comes to love, he is an absolute hatchling. Lu Sheng tries to brush it off and asks what exactly Dong Xingxie admitted to, but his friend is already 3 steps ahead. He confirms it plainly and says Dong Xingxie is interested in Lu Sheng, but here is the kicker. She actually tried to make a move before and invited Lu Sheng out for a meal, and our boy just straight up stood her up. Lu Sheng knows Dong Xingxie's personality well, though. Major Qin says once she sets her mind on something, she does not give up easily, so the situation is not over. But the real problem is not Dong Xingxie herself. It is her 2 brothers, Dong Xingyi and Dong Potian. And Dong Xingyi is an absolute monster. The moment he arrived at the Eastern military base, he defeated Sun Hongyu and Ji Sun, who are the fighters ranked 1st and 2nd on the General Star leaderboard, both of them, just like that. The friend says if the top 2 on the board have already been wiped out, then who in the Eastern District can even stand against him? Rumors are swirling that Dong Shengyi is on a warpath through all 4 major military districts and determined to prove his martial arts are invincible. It is all part of his journey toward becoming a martial saint. The friend warns Lu Sheng to be careful. With Dong Shengyi conquering the Eastern District by climbing the rankings, Lu Sheng is going to be a prime target soon. Lu Sheng asks about the relationship between Dong Xingxie and Dong Shengyi, and his friend immediately jumps to the wrong conclusion. He asks if Lu Sheng is trying to get Dong Xingxie to put in a good word so her brother does not come after him. The young man shuts that down immediately. Of course not. Lu Sheng breaks it down. He says Dong Shengyi is clearly using this tour through the military districts to fight the strongest experts he can find and build an aura of invincibility, which is critical for his path to becoming a martial saint. But since Dong Shengyi is Dong Xingxie's brother, that makes him basically Lu Sheng's future brother-in-law. And if Lu Sheng meets him and defeats him, then Dong Shengyi's confidence shatters. Dong Shengyi would see Lu Sheng as his mortal enemy, and Dong Xingxiu would be caught right in the middle. And then there is Dong Po-Tien too. If Lu Sheng crushes both brothers consecutively, the whole relationship could collapse. Lu Sheng sighs and says his life is just too difficult. His friend just stares at him. The sheer audacity of worrying about being too strong for your girlfriend's brothers and meaning every word of it. Major Chin tells Lu Sheng he wins the award for acting tough. But while Lu Sheng is philosophizing at the bar on the other side of the military district, Dong Shengyi is proving exactly why everyone is terrified. An explosion rips through the training grounds. One blow is all it takes. A high-ranking officer crumbles to the ground, and the soldiers watching cannot even process what they just saw. The friend was right. The top 10 generals cannot hold a candle to him even together. Then Dong Xingxiu arrives on scene, and Dong Shengyi greets his sister casually. But he is not alone. A woman named Lin Wanwan steps forward, and she came with Dong Shengyi. She introduces herself to Dong Xingxiu. Lin Wanwan explains that she is conducting research related to monster genes and needs a large number of specimens. She originally wanted to enlist help from the Eastern Military District's combat personnel, but Dong Shengyi has already beaten every single one of them into the ground. The only person worth considering was Sun Hengyu, and Dong Shengyi dismisses even him as not worth remembering. But the specimens are not why they are really here. They need to enter an SS rank rift and go as deep as possible because the stronger the monsters, the more valuable their genes. And for that kind of mission, they need Dong Xingxiu's help as a spiritualist. Dong Xingyi vouches for Lin Wanwan hard. He says her mother is Lin Zhengyu, who is a martial saint famous across the entire dragon country. And Lin Wanwan's research is no joke. He says if she succeeds, it could cause a revolutionary change in the entire world's martial arts. Dong Xingyi admits that his own opportunity to become a martial saint might actually depend on her work. Lin Wanwan blushes and tells him to stop teasing. But Dong Xingxiu has heard enough. She agrees and says as long as Lin Wanwan promises her one thing, she will help. And just like that, the pieces are falling into place for something much bigger than a bar conversation about love. Dong Xingyi is tearing through the Eastern District's finest, and a martial saint's daughter is planning to dive into an SS rank rift. Dong Xingxiu wastes no time. She has one request for her brother, and it has nothing to do with martial arts. She asks Dong Xingyi point blank if he is planning to fight every single ranker on the Eastern General Star leaderboard. Dong Xingyi shrugs it off. He says none of them are a match for him and he is just warming up since he is already here. But Dong Xingxiu leans in and makes her ask. She tells him to skip the one ranked 4th. Dong Xingyi pauses. 4th? He does not even remember who that is. Then it clicks. The 9th Division's 12-star general, Lu Sheng. But Dong Xingyi is sharp. He notices something on Dong Xingxiu, which is an item and a gift. Dong Xingyi immediately asks if Lu Sheng gave it to her. He examines it and comments on the pure martial arts skill imbued in it. Then his expression hardens and he tells her to return it. Dong Xingxiu's temper flares instantly. But Dong Xingyi backs off with a smirk and says she still cannot take a joke. However, since she brought up Lu Sheng's name, he will grant her request, but only for the Eastern Grand Martial Arts Tournament. He says once he has defeated all 5 major military districts, Dong Xingxiu's little crush must be able to withstand at least one blow from him without going down. If Lu Sheng can survive that, Dong Xingyi will not interfere in their relationship. But if he cannot, then no matter how much she likes the guy, Dong Xingyi will not allow it. And he warns her that he is already being lenient. He says getting past Dong Po-Tien will be a whole different story. Dong Xingyi reminds Dong Xingxiu about a boy from the neighboring town who once tried to pursue her and got beaten half to death by Po-Tien on the spot. He says not every brother is as civilized and reasonable as himself. Dong Xingxiu falls silent, and the weight of that memory is clearly hitting her. But Lin Wanwan jumps in to lighten the mood and tells Dong Xingxiu not to worry. She says she will personally make sure her senior brother goes easy on Lu Sheng when the time comes. Someone points out the irony, though. Lin Wanwan's mother is a martial saint, and she has an army of senior brothers who dominate the martial arts world. So if Lin Wanwan ever wants to date someone herself, she will be in an even worse position. But Lin Wanwan waves it off. She says her mother listens to her and all her senior brothers listen to her mother. So she asks, what exactly is there to fear? With the deal settled, Dong Xingxiu tells Dong Xingyi to focus on the remaining fighters on the leaderboard and prepare thoroughly for the Rift mission. The scene shifts to the dream space. Our boy Lu Sheng is doing his own calculations. He reflects that the standard of people around Dong Xingxiu is ridiculously high. But from his perspective, having lived 10,000 years into the future, Dong Shengyi is maybe a 5-star, and Dong Potian a 6-star. Not exactly world-ending threats. Lu Sheng thinks Dong Shengyi is nothing to shout about. He knows Dong Potian does eventually become a rank 1 martial saint, but that takes him 100 years. But then Lu Sheng's thoughts drift somewhere unexpected. He admits it would be a lie to say he does not have feelings for Dong Shengxue. He compares it to the kind of adolescent crush that over 90% of guys develop on a teacher at some point. The hormones and the admiration and the quiet seed that plants itself in a young heart, most of those seeds die before they ever sprout. But the young man wonders if his feelings for Dong Shengxiu took root the second time he saw her. He wonders if it is destiny. Our boy decides to shelve the question for now and cultivate for a while and figure it out after he wakes up. And if Dong Shengyi shows up looking for a fight, then at the very most, Lu Sheng will just go easy on him and not finish things too quickly. 3 days pass. Lu Sheng is scrolling through his phone contacts and sees names like Zheng Dandan and Yang Yuan. He notices a name he has not contacted in a while, which is He Ling Su. But when he opens the chat, he is hit with an avalanche of messages, thesis reports and work complaints and random explosions of information. Lu Sheng wonders if this girl can even function as a wife because she should be reporting work problems to him when she cannot sleep, instead of dumping everything in one wall of text. He decides to show some concern for her, but He Ling Su's response is instant shock. She asks, since when does Vampire Lu have the ability to say something nice? Lu Sheng freezes because he did not expect that reaction, but something else catches his attention. It has been 3 days, and Dong Shengyi still has not come for him. Lu Sheng checks the news and finds out why. Dong Shengyi has already defeated every expert in the Eastern Military District. Aside from Sun Hung Yu, who is the leader of the 7 luminaries, every single one of them went down in a single move. But Dong Shengyi clearly fought everyone on the leaderboard except one. He specifically skipped the man ranked 4th, which is Lu Sheng. Our boy puts it together instantly. Dong Xingxiu must have asked her brother to leave him alone. He decides that since Dong Shengyi is showing respect for his sister Lu Sheng, will return the favor for his future wife. But Lu Sheng has bigger concerns right now. He tells Li Dea to pack his things because he is going on a mission, and his destination is an SS rank rift. Inside the rift, the team is already assembled. Lin Wanwan complains about the cold. Dong Qingsu tells her she would not be cold if she spent some effort honing her martial arts instead of wasting her potential. Lin Wanwan fires back that not everyone wants to pursue martial arts and wraps herself up. Dong Qingsu notices the item Lin Wanwan is wearing and sees it as similar to the one Lu Sheng gave her. But she notes the martial skill contained in her own version is incomparable. Lin Wanwan insists hers is better. Dong Shengyi cuts the chatter. He tells the team the mission is simple and they are scouting the abyssal crack. He says they do not have to fight because he will handle every single monster himself. Lin Wanwan throws her fist in the air and the team pushes forward into the darkness. Lu Sheng steps into the S-rank rift and immediately notices something different. The last time he came here, the place was eerie, but now it feels even bigger and darker and more oppressive. But Lu Sheng is not here to admire the scenery. He is thinking about the consciousness, which is that mysterious entity he encountered last time in the A-rank rift. He tested the waters back then and realized it was all bark and no bite. Now he wonders if the consciousness is only present in that specific rift, or if it exists in every rift. Either way, the young man is not worried. He thinks that even if the thing is stronger than him, there is nothing it can do with an entire dimensional crack separating them. And if things actually get dangerous, he can always just leave early. Our boy casually crushes through the rift's monsters, and his mind drifts to something far more important. He wonders what Dong Qingxiu is up to right now. Meanwhile, inside the SS rank rift, Dong Qingxiu's team is making progress. Dong Xingyi clears the path ahead while Dong Qingxiu activates her psychic sensory ability and scans the area for threats. She confirms no monsters nearby, and Lin Wanwan excitedly starts collecting specimens from a freshly killed creature. Lin Wanwan marvels at the blood sample and says the quality is incredible and exactly what you would expect from an SS rank monster. But then Dong Shengyi starts running his mouth. He examines the monster's corpse and flexes about how a martial artist at his level uses every part of his body as a weapon. He says, unlike those trashy general stars who rely on cold weapons, he trains with them purely to hone his skills and surprise his enemies by switching to pure physicality. He says he would not even mind fighting with knives since filthy blood runs through those monsters' veins anyway. Dong Qingxiu shuts him down cold. She tells him to either help with collecting samples or shut his trap. She says nobody wants to hear his self-glorifying monologues. Dong Shengyi scoffs but falls in line. The team pushes deeper and Dong Shengyi carves through monsters along the way without breaking a sweat. Dong Shengxi watches her brother fight and admits to herself that she should be happy to have such a strong and capable older brother. But whenever she thinks about how Lu Sheng might be doing out there, she cannot help but feel restless. She thinks it would not be bad if that guy got injured in the rift, just a little. Then it happens. Dong Shengyi nearly walks straight into an abyssal crack, which is a deadly hazard within the rift. He screams at Dong Qingxiu and demands to know why she did not warn him about the danger. Dong Qingxiu claims she did not see it. She says as a martial officer she has done her best for him. Dong Shengyi is furious because it is a massive abyssal crack and impossible to miss. But Dong Qingxiu insists she just did not notice it and says he would have been severely injured at most and not killed. Dong Shengyi is rattled. After that first scare, he narrowly avoids running into abyssal cracks several more times. Each time Dong Qingxiu, who is the team's psychic scout and literally supposed to detect these hazards, mysteriously fails to spot them, Dong Shengyi finally explodes. He accuses her of deliberately guiding him into the cracks. She apologizes with the most unconvincing sincerity imaginable and promises to be more careful next time. Dong Shengyi is terrified. He thinks this woman has not even gotten married yet, and she is already trying to kill off her own family for the sake of an outsider. He wonders what she is going to do next. Lin Wanwan tells Dong Shengyi to please keep himself safe, and Dong Qingxia calmly advises Lin Wanwan that when she starts dating in the future, she should please not be like her. By the 34th floor, things escalate again. Another abyssal crack appears right in Dong Shengyi's path, and this time it grazes him. He screams that it is not funny anymore. Dong Shengyi says if he gets injured, none of them are getting out of here alive because this place is crawling with rank 8 monsters. Dong Qingxiu insists she really did not see this one, and for once she is telling the truth. This abyssal crack appeared out of nowhere and it did not exist in this space before. Something is wrong. Dong Shengyi and Lin Wanwan both stare at her and Lin Wanwan connects the dots. She realizes that if Dong Qingxiu genuinely did not see this last one, then that means all the previous ones she claimed to miss were deliberate. Dong Qingxiu snaps at both of them to focus on the bigger problem. She says new abyssal cracks are appearing in this rift spontaneously, which means the rift itself is destabilizing. It could be on the verge of a rampage and they need to leave as soon as possible. But Lin Wanwan protests and says she still needs a few more samples. The group reluctantly pushes forward to the 35th floor. On that floor, Dong Shengyi fights through another wave of monsters. But somewhere else in an entirely different rift, Lu Sheng suddenly stops. Something feels wrong. An uneasiness washes over him. The eternal cells inside his body are sending him strange signals, and it is something he has never felt before. Our boy reads the warning carefully. This signal means one thing. Either he himself or someone close to him is in danger. Lu Sheng cannot shake the feeling. His eternal cells are reacting again, and this is not random. They only activate like this when he or someone close to him is about to be in serious trouble. Our boy focuses inward and activates psychic perception, which is a rare ability derived from the martial path. It allows a fighter to sense danger zones and react to threats with inhuman accuracy. But the signal is too unclear and he cannot pinpoint the source. He runs through the list in his head. His dad and his mom and his little sister and Dong Qingxie and Sun Hengyu and Lu Gumin and Lin Zhe. Lu Sheng wonders if he should check on all of them individually. The problem is he is deep inside the rift right now and the signal is weak. He cannot even make calls from in here. There is no way to verify anything even if he wanted to. The young man just has to hope whoever it is they are not too far away because otherwise he will not make it in time. The young man forces himself to push the worry aside. Lu Xing is already close to a secret gold vein, so he decides to hurry and handle that first. He reaches the vein and confirms there are no martial fanatics nearby. His psychic perception cannot detect any, and that also confirms something important. Not every rift is interconnected the way he suspected. He blasts through the monsters in his path without breaking a sweat. A massive creature lunges at him, and Lu Sheng does not even bother looking at it. He tells it not to bother him and obliterates it in a single strike. But a short distance away, a group of miners picks up on the commotion. They smell blood, and it is strong blood. They wonder if it is a monster or a person and decide to check it out. Back with Lu Sheng, the miners have found the secret gold vein he uncovered. One of them freaks out and says there is so much secret gold in one place. They realize Lu Sheng discovered the entire vein. The miners crowd around with their eyes wide, and they look like stray dogs following someone carrying treasure home. Lu Sheng tells them they can have everything that is left because he is leaving. But one of the miners gets greedy. He suggests Lu Sheng share a piece of the gold he is already carrying. He says they could get to know each other and get out safely together. Lu Sheng stares at the man and asks him to repeat that. The miner does not get the hint. Our boy smashes a chunk of secret gold into the ground hard enough to crack the floor, and the miners go silent. But the noise has attracted attention. A voice calls out and says, so they were the ones making all that racket and drawing in monsters. A figure steps forward. The miners recognize him instantly. Ji Shun, who is ranked second on the Eastern General Star leaderboard. Everyone in the Eastern Military District knows his face. Ji Shun asks the group if they recognize him. They do. But then Ji Shun turns to Lu Sheng and asks the same question. Lu Sheng does not even look up. He tells Ji Shun he does not know who he is and does not need to know and does not care. Ji Shun gives him two options. Leave the entire secret gold vein behind or leave his corpse behind too. The miners back off immediately and decide to just watch Ji Shun handle this and hope he leaves them some scraps. Ji Shun drops the secret gold piece he was holding as a show of good faith and grins at Lu Sheng and calls him a discerning kid. But before Ji Shun can finish his sentence, Lu Sheng cuts him off. Our boy asks these people if their martial senses are just for decoration. He asks why they cannot feel it. Flames of energy erupt around Lu Sheng's body. His eternal cells are screaming that someone important to him is in danger, and these fools chose this exact moment to get in his way. Lu Sheng's eyes flash with killing intent. He wonders why they had to choose this time to make him angry. Ji Shun barely has time to react. Lu Sheng tells him straight that since they all want to die so badly, he will fulfill their wish. Our boy unleashes a blast of energy so violent it shatters the communication bands on every single miner in the area. The devices crack and spark on the ground, and the miners stare in absolute horror at the wreckage. But the real shock is what comes next. An abyssal crack tears open right behind Lu Sheng, and this deep into the rift, a new crack appearing, is a very bad sign. The miners panic because they are already over 30 levels deep, and this crack just materialized out of nowhere. Dongxing Xue's team was right. The rift is destabilizing. Lin Wenwen speaks up first and says she has collected more than enough samples. She says it is time for everyone to head back up and calls out to Dongxing Yi for confirmation. But Dongxing Yi is not listening. Lin Wenwen calls his name again and gets nothing. She screams it a third time and he finally snaps out of it. He is clearly startled. Dongxing Yi admits he was lost in thought and was not paying attention. Dongxing Xue repeats the situation and says they keep discovering new abyssal cracks on these deeper floors and something does not feel right. She says the rift outbreak that Dongxing Yi mentioned earlier might actually be happening. But Dongxing Yi shuts her down cold. He tells Dongxing Xue her job is simply to scout and that he will handle the monsters and everything else. Then his tone shifts darker. He asks her who she thinks she is. Dongxing Yi warns her not to use her mere rank 6 martial arts strength to test his limits. He says even if there really is a rift outbreak, he can get them all out. Dongxing Xue falls silent and accepts it. Lin Wenwen tries to smooth things over and tells Dongxing Xue not to be upset because Dongxing Yi probably did not mean it that way. But Dongxing Xue is not angry. She says she has known him since they were young and does not take his harshness to heart. But something else is bothering her. Dongxing Xue asks Lin Wenwen if she has noticed that Dongxing Yi has been acting strange. She points out that even when they first entered the rift, the distance between them and Dong Shengyi was only about 3 meters. But now this deep into the rift, where it is 10 times more dangerous, there is already a massive gap between them and him, and he has not even realized they have been struggling to follow. Dong Qingshu puts it together. She thinks Dong Shengyi is not leading a team mission anymore. He wants to continue descending into the greatest depths of the rift by himself. Dong Shengyi can sense that the chance to break through to Martial Saint is right here, and he absolutely cannot let it slip away. Meanwhile, back at the secret gold vein, Lu Xing has finished dealing with Ji Xun, and it was not even close. The miners stare at the aftermath. Ji Xun, who is the fearsome and insufferably arrogant fighter ranked second in the entire military district, has been beaten into the ground without landing a single hit in retaliation. They cannot even tell if he is dead or alive. One of them mutters that if word gets out, it will send shockwaves across the entire Eastern Military Division. The young man turns toward the miners. He says one word, "Hey!" The miners immediately lose their minds. They beg him not to be rash and scream that they can talk it out. They drop to their knees and plead for their lives and admit they were wrong. One of them starts crying and says he still wants to live. Lu Xing pauses. He has let out enough steam and he is not some villain. He tells them to forget it. The bald miner nearly collapses with relief and thanks Lu Xing over and over. But before the word of gratitude even finishes leaving his mouth, Lu Xing flicks a blade of energy past his head and slices off a chunk of his ear. The miner screams. Lu Xing tells him to remember his face and next time make sure to fear him on sight. The miner swears up and down he will absolutely and definitely and without question remember. But as Lu Xing walks away, the miner's relief turns to rage. He recognizes Lu Xing now. Lu Sheng, who is ranked 4th on the General Star leaderboard. The real dark horse who recently shocked the entire 9th Division. His combat power is listed at 12.5 stars. The miner furiously insists that number cannot be right. But then something clicks. Both Dong Shengyi and Lu Sheng took down Ji Xun in one shot. They are equally powerful experts. These two monsters are on a collision course. The Eastern District is going to get a show unlike anything it has ever seen. The miners rush over to check if he is dead. He is not. Ji Xun is still breathing, but barely. He mutters the names Lu Sheng and Dong Shengyi before passing out completely. But Lu Sheng is already gone, and he has no time for small talk. The uneasy signal from his eternal cells is getting stronger. He cannot delay any further. Whoever is in danger, it is getting worse by the second. Lu Sheng pushes deeper into the rift and races toward the secret gold vein he came for, but his mind is locked on one question: who is it? At the same time, inside the SS rank rift, everything falls apart. Dong Shengxie senses it and screams that it is too dangerous. Dong Shengxie throws herself forward and deploys a psychic barrier to shield Lin Wanwan. The blast slams into Dong Shengxie full force. She takes the hit head-on, and her body gets battered by the shockwave. Dong Shengyi spins around and roars at Dong Xingshu and asks if she really does not want to live. Dong Xingshu is hurt but conscious. She tells him they have finished collecting enough samples and it is time to go back. Dong Shengyi tells the two of them to head back on their own. He says it feels like whatever he has been searching for his entire life, and the key to becoming a martial saint is right there waiting for him. Dong Xingshu immediately recognizes what is happening. She tells him to stop believing in nonsense and that he has been bewitched. Dong Shengyi's eyes are glazed over and his voice is distant. He keeps muttering that it is there, and it is definitely there. Lin Wanwan sees it too. He has been possessed. Something in the rift is influencing his mind. Dong Qingsue knows she has to act fast and wake him up. She charges her psychic power and launches a full blast directly at Dong Shengyi. Lin Wanwan jumps in to help. The psychic attacks hit Dong Shengyi simultaneously, and for a moment the energy swirls around him violently. He barely registers it, but Dong Shengyi swats away the attack like it is nothing. Dong Qingsue tells Lin Wanwan to block him and try to snap him out of it, but Dong Shengyi is too far gone. He brushes past both of them like they are not even there. His martial aura explodes outward and he declares that his martial art is in front of him and nothing else matters. Lin Wanwan complains that she cannot even match one of his hands. She wonders if all she can really do is just stand here and watch. Dong Qingsue steps forward. There is one more way. She calls out to him and says, "Brother." Dong Shengyi turns. For a split second, recognition flickers in his eyes. Dong Xingxue calls again and asks if he does not recognize her. She tells him the depths of the rift are crawling with danger. She begs him to stop going further down and asks him to escort them back. Dong Xingyi hesitates. Confusion washes across his face. He curses and asks what the hell happened to him. He does not remember why he is here. Dong Xingyi says something was calling him from below and pulling him deeper. He starts to come back to his senses, but it is too late. The ground beneath them cracks. An enormous monster that is something ancient and terrifying erupts from the depth below. Its jaw opens wide enough to swallow the entire tunnel. The impact sends everyone scattering. Lin Wanwan screams for Dong Xingxue. The creature swallows the space where Dong Xingxue was standing, and the rift floor collapses beneath her. Dong Xingxue and the monster plunge downward into the abyss together. Dong Shigi's voice tears through the darkness. He screams for Dong Xingxue. Lu Sheng escaped from the S-class rift. He freezes. The signal from his eternal cells has changed. The cells are no longer sending a warning. They are screaming. Lu Sheng cannot ignore this any longer. He pulls out his phone the second he exits the rift. His eternal cells have stopped reacting to his own physical signals entirely, which means the danger is not about him. Lu Sheng calls his mom first. She picks up and is perfectly fine. He plays it cool and tells her it is nothing and he is just checking in. He calls his sister Qing He next. She is fine too. But when he dials Dong Xingxue, the number does not connect. Lu Sheng forces himself to stay calm. He thinks that turning off a phone in a military district is normal because they are often in areas with no signal. Then his phone rings. It is Sun Hongyu. Lu Sheng picks up and asks what is going on. Sun Hongyu's voice is urgent. He asks where Lu Sheng is. Before Lu Sheng can answer, Sun Hongyu drops the bomb. The young man says something happened and tells Lu Sheng to come back as soon as possible. He says Dong Xingxue is in trouble. He asks Sun Hongyu to explain. Sun Hongyu tells him the SS rank rift that Dong Xingxue's team entered has gone into a full rampage, and it is the highest level, which is level 10. Lu Sheng does not hesitate for a single second. He tells Sun Hongyu the location is the 7th Division and says he will rush over right away. Our boy launches out of the rift and tears across the sky. One thought burns in his mind. Dong Xingxue, wait for me. At the 7th Division near the SS rank rift, the military is in full crisis mode. He asks how many teams are still inside. The answer is 8, and among them are the transcendent martial saint's only daughter Lin Wenwen and his third disciple Dong Shengyi. The commander says if anyone is in danger, one person alone will not be able to hold off the monsters pouring out of the breach. The soldiers split into teams and Team 1 heads down immediately. Then a report comes in. Dong Shengyi's team has been located. The rescue squad dives in and fights through waves of monsters that have been unleashed by the rampage. They pull the survivors up and out of the rift. Dong Shengyi collapses on the ground outside and gasps for air. Lin Wanwan is beside him, shaking. The rescue commander exhales in relief. But something is wrong. Dong Shengyi drops to his knees. Lin Wanwan starts crying. The commander asks what is wrong. Dong Shengyi's voice cracks. He mutters that he did this and it was his fault. He says he killed her. The soldiers whisper among themselves. Someone went in with them but did not make it back out. The commander demands to know who and why nobody mentioned this earlier. One of the officers explains quietly that her identity is a little special. She is Dong Shengyi's blood sister and a colonel of the 9th Division. The other soldiers shrug it off. They say there are no deathless battlefields, and even rank 7 martial masters die frequently. A colonel is nothing. One of them even mutters that Dong Shengyi will be fine, because as the martial saint's successor, this is basically just mental training for him. Then a figure crashes down from the sky. The impact sends shockwaves through the ground. He is an 11-star general, and he is getting chills just from being near this guy. Lu Sheng demands to know where Dong Shengyi is. He screams his name across the field. Dong Shengyi turns. The two lock eyes. Silence. Then Lu Sheng's energy erupts. He grabs Dong Shengyi and demands one answer. Our boy asks where Dong Xingxue is. He tells him to answer now. Lin Wenwen is sobbing. She chokes out the words. Sister Xingxue. Dong Shengyi cannot even look Lu Sheng in the eye. Lu Sheng's fury ignites. He tells Dong Shengyi that he brought Xingxue in, but he could not bring her out. The young man says the responsibility for this falls on him alone. He says Dong Shengyi is her older brother and he is supposed to be following the martial path. Lu Sheng makes a promise right there. He says after he brings Dong Shengxie back, he will personally put an end to Dong Shengyi's martial arts journey. The young man turns and charges straight toward the SS rank rift. One of the officers screams after him and asks if he is courting death. Dong Shengyi watches him disappear. He mutters one word, Lu Sheng.